ー来た BMW がホールショット。あれ BMW のあれだ、シャドウウルトラマンやウルトラマンシャドウや。でもあれか、早いね。どれかわからん。早いね。綺麗なポールリガールだよ。 TSR。吉村ギッター。あと抑えた。メビック川崎。It's always very much up the front and striking for the lead in the early stages. And BMW were the first away. Now it's D'Amelio as the lead from Cert Suzuki. BMW fourth place, a good start for the SRC Kawasaki squad. 見えない見えない。わからんなこれ。ボルドールは、J スポーツオンデマンドのみです。日本語の放送なしだね。去年はあったのにね。吉村いったね。天気はね、もう多分大丈夫だと思うので。うわもうすげえな。もうここ吸ってるよ、ここガタ吸ってるんじゃん。川崎4位だね。吉村 TSR で BMW 元なんと違うのかな、37番ね。ビルドワークスの川崎がわからんなこれはトネさんのバイクすらわからん。トネさんか。85だっけ。おじいさんとトネさんがどうなってるか。あれ出てないね。置いてかれた。27位おじいさん。トネさんがわかんない。もう気があったよ。トネさん置いたのかな。86だろ。85じゃないだけで86だっけ。カメラ切り替えるから順位が分かんないね。もう1、2、3しか映さないからね、初めは。86じゃないよな。また切り替わって横のやつが分かんないな。心君っておじいさんの後ろにトネさんがいるかもわからない。27かなんかじゃない ?28 か。カメラバーグ悪いな、今回。もうちゃんと順位移しといてよ。27と28じゃないかな。For the comfort and the ease of riding the bike and not tiring the riders out, they've had to just make some changes for the 24-hour, which is why we can see here. まずモータースポーツ版サラザが24で、トネさんが26だからもう近くにいるからね。BMW 海外行くと早いんだよね。鈴鹿はちょっとね。Just looking there, you know, that FCC TSR Honda, 3
一応 TSR もフランスになってるけど日本のチームですからね。はい、レッティンプレさんこんばんは。さあ順位が変わるか。お、22上がってきたね、おじいさん。トネさんは26のまま。さすが王子モータースポーツバイサラさん。誰だろう今。
They somehow make things so easy for themselves, if it can be called easy in 24 hours. The riders always seem comfortable, the bike always seems comfortable, it seems fast, it seems to use less fuel than other machines.
はい、今ちょっとコピー中です。コピー中です。コピってます。王子モータースポーツバーおじいさんね、ほんとどんどん上がってくるんだよ。22ね。おー、かぶすね。BMW が出てる。やっぱ海外早いね。トネさんも上がったかな。好きなとこをさ映せるようにしてほしいね。もう4台の面白いね。おお BMW いった。BMW ちょっと待って、これが BMW か。6番で6番ってどこで37が BMW でしょ。
Obviously, a Spaniard enjoying the virtual Spanish weather down here, right in the Mediterranean south of France.
Xavi just looks like he's going to have a go and try and put a little bit of a gap in, which is critical, really, for coming onto that race straight. If you can get a gap between the next man behind you, then.
まあまだ始まったばっかりなんでね、これからどういうあれになるか。37が BMW のワークスじゃないの。ドゥカティや。なんかカラーリングがさ、もうどう考えたら BMW っぽいからドゥカティが1位。ドゥカティで、吉村で BMW で TSR かな。ドゥカティ、吉村、BMW、TSR。
I don't think you ever forget a chap. I don't think you do. That chip on your shoulder just gets bigger and bigger as the.
おお、ドゥカティここも来るんだね。早いよな。鈴鹿はね、ちょっとデライトさんだっけ？ちょっと残念でしたけどね。まあまだ全然わかんないからね。ここで決まるわけじゃないから。おじいさんは22、トネさんが26位。ちょっと動きが少ないかもね。
Haslam at the moment still down in 4th place. Sorry, on number 4 in 10th place.
Yeah, the Yak guys are back in 9th. Which is a little bit of a surprise. I didn't see that they got too bad of a start. You know, certainly.
まあ鈴鹿と違って24時間なので、鈴鹿みたいな走りはないと思います。そういうね、アグレッシブに。コースも比較的こう走りやすいあれで、長いこうね、ポルカルなんで。
96, which is the team motor and Yamaha.
Well, our timing screens have just, sorry, Jack, our timing screens have just updated.
ちょっとね、
to sixth now, he's just got past.
マシン5台分ぐらい
Yeah, on the other Yamaha.
だから射程だね。
Dan holding seventh.
ドゥカティからちょっとマシンちょっとだけ離れて、コンマ5秒ぐらい
The Moto.
で吉村 TSI がすぐあって、ちょっと空いて BMW。
He's a good runner in World Supersport. He's had 8th place in World Supersport in the last couple of years. And then also Kevin Manfredi's there behind him.
お、TSI 行った。
The leading, and that's no great surprise because
行った行った。
Manfredi was so
あー、でもあかん。
qualifying and clearly the fastest man in the
サイドバイサイド。
category. So,
ストレートサイドバイサイド。おーっと吉村が勝った。
all the sevens. The Wojcik Racing Team Stock 777 alongside Danny Webb.
まああんまり無理してもね、危ないあれはできないから。
Polish rider Marek Skopek.
We just saw another one of the drag races there between the Honda and the Suzuki, and that Suzuki still holding its own.
Well, the Ducati, it hasn't pulled away, but it's still handy there in the lead. Yeah,
さあドゥカティがね、どこまで引っ張っていけるかよね。
Like he was just going to start to get stuck in and yeah, but he's ended up back and forth again there.
多分ね、前半っていうかそのトップ走るのがいいことないんだよね。決していいとは限らない前半でね。おお、サイドバイサイド。TSR 吉村もうこんなんやで。見たい方は J スポーツオンデマンド行ってね。マジ。ヤマハが6位ね。ヤート。6が7。7位が77、8位が777、7なんも続くねんって。ほんとマジ。6、7、8とな、山行くやろ。で、次行っちゃった。ちょっとミスったのかな、なんやろ。7位が77号車だよ。7番。で、その次が777や。ほんまに。
Howling down that back straight. Marvin Fritz doing all he can to get that Yamaha into contention. He's moving in on the number 11 SRC Kawasaki.
Yeah, and Fritz is going to have quite a difficult sort of part of the race in a minute because he's going to end up.
川崎がちょっと脱落か。11番ね。
As he has now, Reiterberger. So
3秒あるのよ。
These guys are all going to be pulling each other on. He's going to have a big gap to bridge. I mean, it's
3秒空いて、また3秒空いてヤマハなの。
Just having a look down the timing screen to see where the
台数は何台？少ないのかちょっと。
And they're running in 34th place with Matt Trulov, who's twin brother Harry got his first victory in British Supersport, didn't he, the round before last?
走行してる台数は
Yeah, just looking through for the other Brits, the TRT 27 Suzuki Superstock machine. They've got Jan Mertens, and then we've got David Shoebridge, who's obviously running exceptionally well and leading the Ducati Cup in the British Championship, and Tom Oliver as well.
43台やから
World Endurance Race, and looking at the times they've been doing during qualifying, they've been, you know, they've really respectable times. They haven't let themselves down. I've been really impressed.
さあこれからどうなるか。まだまだだよ。
And their third rider dropped out quite early on, and they had to two-man it between Mertens and Shoebridge. They had to do two riders, and I think they did about
そう
20
か。
hours.
3秒だね、前
Which is a
と。
massive respect round Spa.
おじいさ
Massive
ん。
respect.
で、トネさんも3秒、前と。
was really
ちょっとこうまだまだかかるね。
back in the Colchester bike mechanic in British Supersport. Got himself never actually won a race, but was runner-up. Got himself a second place on the podium, so it'd be interesting to see how he manages overall. At the moment they're in 24th place and they're just ahead of the lovely Italian Luca Scassa on the No Limits Suzuki, number 44, probably the only other Suzuki in the race, just about.
Yeah, that's a really experienced world endurance team. Been around a lot of years, that No Limits team. They've got Alexis Masbu and
結構オーソドックスな
Yeah.
単語みたい
Stephen
な
Hill is still only 24 because he was around so young.
BMW
You know,
の
what a kid he still is, the lad.
あれを見てますけど
Of course, he's already been
お完了したで
world champion, the World Cup champion with Robbie Rolfo and the Moto Ang team before they defected
完了した
to EWC. So he's got some experience there already in his young legs. Well, yeah, Luca Scassa was overjoyed to win for that team.
あとお財布とかね
I
あれを
the last race of last year.
Yeah, yeah.
And stopped alongside their pit box, and they were all going mental. It was lovely to see.
We were actually in the garage next to them, so yeah, it was. And you know, it's really surprising. They have the most basic setup in there. Very, very
これ
basic
チーに
setup.
充
They
電
have
してない
big fancy
単用してたん
bells.
じゃん
There's no glitz and glam. They've just got the lads there that they need there, and they run a really efficient, tidy little team. And it proved last year.
There's a number 77 bike of in the midst. Number 77, Dan Linfoot with that conspicuous red helmet. And right
ということは
behind
さ
him, really making
マグ
progress
セー
is
フ
their
大丈
number
夫なの
777 super stock teammate, Manfredi.
マグセーフをしたよね
So that's a real surprise to see Dan Linfoot being challenged by his super stock, the super stock team of the same name. Perhaps it's not such a big surprise. Kevin Manfredi, he's known as the bull back home. He's short and chunky, and he was the winner of the tightest
あ
victory
ほ
ever
んままるっ
in
きり一緒
the
やこ
history
れ
of Mugello 2 or 3 years back in Italian CIV super stock.
なんか養鶏配置されたんやけど
Second
さ
over Massimo Roccoli.
He always sports.
いやいやいやいやいやちょっと待ってもう一回やり直すから
And he's one of the many Italians who come and tried their hand at BSB. Morello had him over to do Silverstone.
They did, yeah.
And it's these sort of things. It's amazing how many. I was looking at just how many Italians have come across and graced the BSE paddocks in the last 10, 12 years. And there's a fair number, not always very successfully, but a lot of them involved here. Claudio Corti, obviously.
Scassa.
Photopro.
Scassa did a one.
こっち集中しないからねフォトプロ
Biocco did a season. Some good lads came over.
My mechanic actually worked with Manfredi at Morello, and he said he was such a nice.
Oh,
You know,
he's a lovely lad.
they may well call him the bull, but what a
Oh, that's entirely a
very,
good news.
a very down to earth, a real nice lad. And they said he was a joy to work with.
Good. He's like a short version of Ben Rumble. So Jerry Forrest still in the lead with Greg Black on the Cert Suzuki in second, and then D'Amelio on the FCC TS Honda, and Reuterberger just losing contact slightly on the number 37 BMW Motorrad. And in the background, you can see what's going on between Etienne Masson and Marvin Fritz, and I feel that Masson might have made his move, and he has. The number 7 slips through into 5th place. So that's a move forward by Yamaha past the leading Kawasaki. So at the moment we've got Ducati playing. Oh look, Gilles Stadler, now your man on the right. I can't believe we're going to lose him. He's packing in after this race. He's been just the mainstay of SRC Kawasaki forever, it seems, with that scowl on his face. He's such a nice bloke when you get behind the scowl. He's lovely. So Maxim's in 6th. Haslam has moved up to 7th.
YouTube アカウント
Still 9th ahead of Kevin Manfredi.
ちょっと待って YouTube アカウントどうなってんの
So nearly 250 world champion all those years ago is 22nd, 24th
ストリーミン
for
グ
Tom
モードオ
Oliver,
ン
25th for Lucas Scassa. There's some good riders dotted right through the field. I noticed that Lucas Scassa's got rid of, not that it's doing him any favours
Okay.
at the moment, he's got rid of little Kevin Collier, another short, stocky kind of
すごいな。
guy, because Kevin was like lapping 2 seconds a lap slower than Luca last time. It must be very frustrating when you're
あ、
trying
スト
to
リ
make
ーム
up
キーは入れ
time.
なあかんのか。
It kind of gets thrown away by the man who takes your place.
Yeah, it's a team sport, isn't it? And you know, you can work and work and work, and you make all that time back.
すごい。
Your teammates a couple of seconds slower. It's hard to go back in and look him in the eye and tell him that you haven't got a problem and it's all right.
And it's all going well.
あ、すごい。ね、バイクちゃんと追うよ。追うって言ったらおかしい
But
け
the
ど
thing
さ。
with a 24-hour race is that so much of this can come down to strategy as well, and the time
ちょっと
it
待って
takes
ね。
in the pits. It's going to be interesting to see when these guys get to
ちょびっと待ってね。
to around the 20 lap mark. That's when people are going to be thinking about pit stops. I
ちょっ
spoke
と
to
今日は
Dan
ね
just、
バタ
before.
バタ
The Logic team have
忙しい
said
の。
that they're going to aim to do about 25 laps before they pit.
YouTube の
On the other end of the spectrum, the ADSS stock team, they're thinking about probably pitting at around 20 laps. So
YouTube。
5 laps is different. There's a big difference in the amount of fuel they're going to
設
burn.
定が
Yeah, so with these front four, they're all going to
That's
burn
a
fuel
live.
slightly differently as well with the different configurations of the engines. You know, you've got the Honda and the Suzuki conventional.
ライブ配信
four-cylinder,
で
and then you've got the Ducati, which is the V4. Sorry, and the
エン
BMW
コ
is
ー
the
ダー
same.
で
But they've all
ちょっと
got
待っ
these
て。
slightly different firing orders, which all means all the engine mapping has to be slightly different for the characteristics, which means they're going to burn the fuel at different rates.
どうせっちゅうのこれ。
Pretty good on fuel.
They've got these the electronic guys. There'll be a guy in that pit that is just there for the electronics, and they'll have everything mapped out and worked to make it as feasible
ストリーム
as possible
URL。
without making it compromising it anywhere. I mean, we see looking at the Yamaha now. Is he closing the gap? Is he closing the gap? Slowly.
There was a smile on Big Mandy Kynes' face just then when we caught a glimpse of it in the pit box. So it could be that he is making ground.
But as we say, I mean, he's a couple of corners back there. It's
Yeah, actually, he is. I think he's. You know, Yamaha do this every year, don't they? They always
make it
fight
like
their way back
themselves.
into contention
スラッシュ。
and usually end up, well, let's touch wood here, but they so often seem to have crucified the engine when having to do that.
See, I don't class myself as a commentator yet, so I don't think I can curse them. But you, Jack, you definitely are, and you maybe shouldn't have said
ないぞ。
that.
All right, I'll take
It's
it
too
back.
early
I'll take it back.
on. It's too
Mandy, I'll take
early
it back.
バックスラッシュしかないよ。
I've been scanning the sheet just now, trying to find. Oh yeah, it's Team 33 Louis April Moto Kawasaki with Christian Giammarino on board at the moment. That's where Kevin Collier's gone as their yellow rider, alongside Giammarino, two very Italian lads who've seen themselves in various
YouTube
championships over the years.
アカウントがないんだけど。
And I think Giammarino was actually running quite well.
YouTube.
He's running in 14th place, just behind the legendary Australian
Ah,
Grand Prix winner
来た来た来た。
Anthony West, who always goes his best when it's absolutely filthy wet conditions. So he's probably the one man who would not be hugely enjoying this. And here we are with the lap rider, of course. The lap rider's getting in the midst of the leaders, but not for long, as they come howling down the straight.
Yeah, we just spoke then about Anthony West.
Good call.
I did a few laps behind him last year, and you know, he looked like he'd maybe had to use a few more cows to get a suit to fit round
Oh,
him.
did he really?
But my God, the lad can still
ああ、でもなん
pedal.
か重いね。
And they were there at the end of the 24 hours, and he'd done more riding than his teammates. You know, yeah, hats off to the guy. Hats off to the
You
guy.
never lose class, do you? Remember when he stepped in for Kevin Curtin at very short notice in World Supersport on a Yamaha, and he promptly won.
これでもさ、どっちで配信されるの？
I was about to say, I bet it was raining, yeah.
You know, you just don't lose class like that, do you? It stays very intact. This is what things were like at the start, and I thought, look, Haslam.
PSI 了解いいよ。
That's the yard,
That's the
so we stand
Yamaha. The
corrected.
Yard Suzuki made a complete mess.
もう
That's the
暑い
word I was looking for, of its start. Hence the fact they had an early faller that we hadn't spotted earlier. And what happened to? Oh, this
これ
is.
絶対配信できない。
Beg your pardon. It's in the midst of the pack. So we saw Dan Linford get a scorcher on the Wojcik Yamaha.
You know, I grew up with Dan. We went to school together, and I don't ever remember him being much of a runner. But that video footage there leaves me, you know, I stand corrected.
Oh, and look at.
あ、またヤマハダメなの？スタート。じゃあ1番川崎やろ？あ、じゃあ吉村。
Suzuki, clean as you like. Greg Black's on. Wow.
And we initially
ちょっと待って
thought that
ね。
the BMW had
明
a
日の
strong
ため
at
に
the start, but as you see from the onboard there with Greg, it wasn't all that good.
YouTube ライブイベント。
Meanwhile, at the front, this is how the ball door's panning out after just over 25 minutes with the remarkable ERC Ducati still in the lead.
And Reiterberger's leapt past Greg Black and Mike D'Amelio and is up to second now. So we're seeing the pass now. Clean as you like.
It's just an unexpected treat to see these guys running at the front. Jerry Flores, who's 35-year-old now, the man from Lombay in the province of Valencia, where, of course, he's been the CE by Spanish stock champion.
これあれだね。全部アカウント移行されてるね。
Superbike champion as well along the way.
見てるとさ。
I think people underestimate just how fast these world endurance races are.
Oh.
They are, yeah, this isn't a 24-hour parade. These guys are absolutely hanging it out.
Yeah.
Yes, in the back of their minds, they're aware that they have 24 hours to go, but the speed of these guys, you know, they're all
Facebook
world class.
login
And
code
if you put them in a world superbike race, they wouldn't be embarrassing themselves. You know, the pace is blistering.
That was absolutely at Magny-Cours when one of the Suzuki World Endurance guys was popped into the last race of the season and got a couple of fourth places. Well, I thought, wow, that really shows how quick they are.
And we saw it last year at Most in the World Superbikes when Marvin Fritz
Yes.
he wildcarded, and
Yeah.
I think he was second or third row against the regulars.
マイクロソフトアカウントでサイン。
Yeah, it just shows the class. I mean,
Here we are on board with the Bridgestone Suzuki.
あ、これロール。ちょっと待ってね。ちょっとマジで待ってね。
Because that shift backside was always something he set himself up very early for. That kind of weight shift at the back.
it's always nice to watch the Gagler riders like this, where you can see all the different styles. You can, you know, we've now got the leg dangle that comes in. Some lads are keen on getting their elbows down. I mean, I think that's a really inefficient way of riding for 24 hours, is to be hanging off with your elbow down all the time. For some people it's obviously natural, but
はい、それちょっと
Very nice for Brad
ボ
Rowe,
ルドールに集中しましょう。
who's not doing badly this year.
じゃあちょっとね次またドゥカティ BM TSR 吉村ヤマハ川崎
Oh, and here comes a
Oh,
big
yes.
move by FCC TSR Honda.
TSR 抜いた
Eastbound straight
BMW
as it eclipsed
無理
Chapman.
無理だった。
Oh, to the tune of
Lost out
two.
too.
So it goes down the former German and Spanish extreme champ goes down 2 places. There's Jeremy Guanoni enjoying watching in the middle of the pack there. Guanoni, of course, a fabled winner back in
1秒差だね。
with Loris Baz.
もう来てるよ。
What, 2 teenagers winning the ball door? They're going away. Those
あ、トネさんがもう切れた映像。もう
Gregory
オ
LeBlanc.
ンボードいいよ。日本語でも放送されないんやったら。 順位を常に出してほしいね。
There's been quite a lot of moves like that.
Yeah.
とこで切り替わるのよ。
Here's Reiterberger,
おトネさん何か悪い。
four-time IDM German Superbike champion for the bands on BMW. Of course, his team's run by the absolutely delightful Werner Damon, the former Supersport wizard at World Supersport, the little Belgian, another very stocky little fella. He's fabled for me because he's one of the
いや
only
タイ
two
ヤは
guys
もう
I've
いいよ
seen
分かってるからダンロッ
who've
プって
thrown it away, coming over the lip at Imola to drop down towards the Riazza, the 2 left-handed Riazzas, and that was a spectacular get-off, right over the top of that hill and all the way to the bottom, end over end. That was probably almost spectacular.
あ、ホッシーさんやホッシーさん 星さんしてる。ただ28時だったかな。第一。ああ、抜いた抜いた。ホッシーさん。
Do you know, I was speaking to Dave Shoebridge before he went there, and I said, if I'm going to give you one bit of advice, when you get onto the Mistral straight, go left and stay left, because they will come either side of you. And don't leave a big gap between the one.
いや、これはもうでもね、トネさんの場合はホッシーさんが一番初め走らないといけないよね。心くんはファーストじゃないね。
You know, obviously bring yourself across progressively, but yeah, get left and stay left and let them go past you on the right.
That's great advice.
His reply was, any other bits of information like that, do tell me.
Oh, DSR いったね。
This gap constantly, isn't he?
Yeah, well,
He's edging in.
well, these four are all chopping and changing and duffing each other up. It's just giving him chance to just close that gap, and he is definitely closing.
Well, again, he's about the thick end of half a second, well, at least 3 to 4 seconds, sorry, 3 to 4 tenths quicker on that lap. There's the man who's following next up, number 6 on the number
さあどうなってるか。
SRC Weeback Kawasaki.
ラップ差がもういいってタイム差出せよ。もう見んでも分かるっちゅうの。
Oh, man, he's always
あ、
looked a big
上が
lad.
った上がった上がった上がった上がった21。トネさんがちょっと落ちたね。もうさ、タイム差でいいから、タイム差もね、前との差とかからそのトップからの差になったりする。ちょっとなんかこう今回の放送意地悪いね。ちょっとこう見る側の立場になってやってくれたんやな。いやもうライダーは知ってるから、ホッシーさん。
Jamie Forrest, of course, has said in 2016, 9th in World Superbikes, 2017 and 18 he was
あ、
7th.
もうね、もうその3台52秒差なのよ。52. 点何歩差やからもう3台が走ってんのよ。だからもう入れ替わり立ち替わりなのよ。だから3秒差あったからだいぶ縮まったんだね。なんかね切り替えまくってんのよこれ。チームにしたりとかメーカーにしたりタイムにしたり。いやとりあえずタイムやったらタイムで落ち着けよって、一周流してから変えよって。で今もさ前との差なんてほらまたタイヤ変えたりとかさ、こんなんさ一回流してから変えろっていうね。ね、ものすごい見にくいな。今タイヤでもほらライダー変わるでしょ。一回行ってからさ次の時に変えるとか普通するやん。ほんま怒ってます。おっさんカンカンやねほんま。ほらもうまた変えてんねん。どうもイラッとけへん見たいところでパッと変わる。ちょっとどういうことか教えてあげよう。こうね、ほらこうやって早いのよな。一回やり過ごしてからさ帰ろっていう。これもう変わるで。ほらどう思うぐらい。あ、上がった上がった上がった。20タイム差やろ前との。でトネさんってあとほらどう思うぐらい。切り替えすぎやろってマジで。ど素人がこの放送してそのテロップコントローラー。もう私がこれあれよあれやったらお前何してんねやって怒るね。怒ってます。怒ってます。ちょっともう嫌になってきた。
in such an intense paddock we've been in the Grand Prix to come here where it's a little bit more of a family environment and just a more enjoyable atmosphere. I think a little bit more. He loves it. He loves it. And as you say, they're having a real strong ride there in eighth.
Brent Gladwin and Jeff Crust, you had him over on the WWE.
ちょっと違うぞこれ。これか？あ、持ってるわ。マイクロソフトランチャーいいよね。
And then 2019, he did the whole season, but he was kind of just on the brink of the points all the time. He only finished
それいいや。
Yeah, I think it was a difficult year for him.
やっぱおじいさんやっぱりすごいね。徐々にこう上がってってまだわかんないけど
I
ね。
think, as with any of these riders, you know, they come over and they have to leave home, don't they? They're leaving familiarity, they're leaving all their friends. And, you know, he lives in Como.
ある程度中盤ぐらいにいといて、いつもそうでしょ。だんだん上がってくね。でミスをなるべくしないように走ってるよね。まあ転倒とかもあるけども、マシントラブルとかもねあったけど。
Is it dinner or is it lunchtime? And he agreed it was dinner because he'd been told he Yorkshire.
あ、また上がったんじゃん。
The inaugural European Superstock 600 champion in 2005. Yeah.
あ、でもね、トネさんのところもちょっと抜かれて、また抜き返すっていうパターンですよね。はい、正木君、こんばんは。
Anyway, back at the front. Whoa.
Back mark is playing a part again.
Yes. You're all right if you get past them quickly.
周回だね。
That was a lovely piece of drafting by Forrest.
Yeah, and sometimes to be the rider in fourth, if you're close enough, you
おお、17で1秒差後ろあるから、いや結構攻めてるな。
just dropped off the back of this leading three.
So he'll be, if he's not careful,
20代から
flowing back in.
ね、速くない？
I mean, if it's 50.
Yeah, he's 2 seconds off the back of Reiterberg.
Yeah.
Reiterberg just.
おお、いいね。ちょっとお見せできないのがね、ごめんなさい。
Developing into a five-way charge. Yeah, there's Fritz cutting back.
2.1 between Fritz and Reiterberg. So
お見せできないからさ。
Reiterberg and BMW Ultra scored their first ever endurance world championship victory, didn't they, this year? Which they've been working at long and hard.
yeah, they didn't really have any issues in that race.
YouTuber の
Never put a foot
BMW
wrong, and it was nice to see. You know, it was nice to see they're a good bunch of lads in that team.
ト
And
ネさんのところが、でこれでまた変わるんだよ、表示が。
Mikhailchuk, the Ukrainian. To get
0.816 秒。
world endurance as well.
だから本当目の前走ってない。目の前ではないな。ちょっと離れたところに走ってる。
With Reiterberger and the BMW. No wonder people have to be fit to ride these
もう
things.
そろそろさ、もう先頭はいいからさ、後方映して。
There's nothing more frustrating than hearing somebody say they're easy to ride, you just sit on them. Because you try and hang on to one of these for 45 minutes.
もういいじゃ
And
ん。
of course, these guys are running bigger fuel tanks as well, unlike in most domestic superbike championships or the world superbikes that will be around 20 litres. These guys are running 23, 24 litre tanks. So
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's all weight that goes into the bike. It's another, you know, however many kilograms they've got to fight with.
Yes.
And it does change the characteristics of how the bike's handled.
G のリア募金、リハビリ費用のため鈴鹿8台。専門のリハビリ治療によった費用を要するため、リア選手の家族によりネット募金が開始された。目標額は12万5000ポンド、約2000万であり、現在4万800名が集まっている。募金はこちらのサイトから。最終 FP の中、転倒によりバリアに、衝突したんですね。
But right now, they've got to find their way past the back markers. This is going to be a continuous, of course, problem that they're going to face throughout this race. That was number 77, the junior team, LMS Suzuki. Eddie Dupai, Christopher Kemmer and Charles Corto.
岡山もタイムスケジュール変更がね、
I was going to say, they're getting to that point.
台風のため
we're going to see teams wanting to
いろい
think
ろ
about pitting.
As early as this as well. They're just coming up to 40 minutes. Wow.
I would think we'll see somewhere around 22 to 24 laps before they pit. But certainly at this stage of the race, they're not going to be gambling, doing one extra lap just to see if they can eke it out. I think, most of them are going to have to play it safe. Watanabe there preparing himself for his first stint on the Cert Suzuki.
いや縦よく走るんだもんね。
Still, Javi Forres on a Ducati lead. And the only Pirellis in the top 6. You've got to look back to 7th place and Leon Haslam. Oh, at least Leon will be familiar with what he's riding on. And he's got the better of the motor and bike of Corentin Perolari. Dan Linfoot still there in 9th. And Kevin Manfredi, the ball is still there in 10th.
And Jack, should we just mention the absence of Javier Simeon deciding to retire from road racing? Really, he's decided after a break that he's got all the things that he wanted to do. He's going to stick with his rider coaching and decided to step back from the CERT team. And
he's another former European Superstock 600 champion.
Did he ever win the European Stock 1000 as well?
I think he did.
He was. I always remember him and Reiterberger and Skasser, all those boys. That era was the mad European Superstock 1000.
Oh, it was a fantastic class. And here we have the first of the riders to stop.
I believe that is Claudio Corti.
Really?
Getting ready to jump on now.
Okay. That's early to stop though. Wow, 40 minutes. Is that what you expect from the Superstockers?
Yes, that he's a superbike. That's superbike. So he's 22 laps in, 21 laps in, and they've decided to pit. But I think we may well see that strategy change for riders. As I say, at this point, they're going to have to play it safe. It's 40 minutes into a 24-hour race.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is be the one with the stupid cap on sat in the corner because you ran out of fuel before the first hour. So Xavi Forres dangled a leg there to say that he was coming in.
So Xavi Forres is coming in. Also the number 85 machine doing the 8th thing. That's the Tone RT Syncage 4413 BMW. I don't want to say that again too often. That's Japanese run.
Yeah, all Japanese superbike team.
Yeah, Hoshino, Ishizuka, and Shinichi Nakatomi is in that team as well. Wow, that's going back a bit. He's welding. It's amazing how this sport produces the guys in their mid-20s or early 20s, even their teams, right through the lads who are now into their early 40s.
Chaz getting ready to jump on the Ducati.
The unmistakable helmet of the former World Supersport champion, former World Superbike runner-up from Prestigna, just across the board from Shropshire in Wales, Chaz Davis. It's nice to see him back in competitive action.
Isn't it, yeah? Good. I'd love to have just grabbed a word with him just to see how he's sort of finding world endurance, really, because it is a change from the
トネさんが
intensity of world superbikes.
ちょっと落ちた
completely different environment, a different
どっち
mindset.
上がったのかな
It would be nice to just catch a word and be able to sort of share with the
あ、
viewers
トネ
as
さんちょっ
well,
と落ちたね、33。ピッ
where
トインだ。
Chaz's head is at with it all.
問題なし。
I mean, what's not to enjoy riding around here on a
交代ね。
on a Panigale superbike, eh?
あ、もう43分経ってんのか。
Again as a 5-time winner, especially in this wonderful sunshine, A-tail.
Absolutely.
So the FCC TSR Honda has the advantage at the moment over Greg Black on the Cert Suzuki. And then it's the BMW Reiterberger up to 4th place, then goes Marvin Fritz, up to 5th place goes SRC Kawasaki, into the top 6 comes Leon
ピ
Haslam.
ット入ってるから若干変わるかな。
Kawasaki.
We've just seen Reiterberger coming past, it's Ludovic Riza on the 44 machine. That's one of the prototype machines where they run different unique front ends, and it's sort of a prototype class of where they try different chassis, their own chassis designs, and you know, these crazy blokes in their sheds coming up with new designs.
Yeah. Steady, Mike.
石塚選手です、
We're going to
次
have a
は
big interview. Freddie Foray will be coming on any moment now.
So Xavi, you are the surprise of this first stint. You know, we are waiting the Honda, the Suzuki, the BMW, the Yamaha, but the Ducati
あ
was
れ
there.
今おじいさんじゃな
And
か
to
っ
be
た
honest, from the beginning of the week,
7か
I was feeling quite okay in order to have a good pace to stay on the front. On the flying lap yesterday, we were not able to do a massive lap, but our pace was always consistent. I tried to lead the race because my pace was 53, 54 low, 54 low. I let them pass. I was looking at the pace, it was 54 high, so I decided to take the lead again. I enjoyed a lot, and so from now we have to do our own race because our fuel consumption is different. And then if we can manage this, we can fight for the podium, I think.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'm very confident Xavi Forres then. Good to see him looking so upbeat about that. And of course he's now got the man who 3 times finished second to the impenetrable Jonathan Ray in the World Superbike Championship on board, and that's Chaz Davis. Who's another who's already, there's another who's 35. You're always surprised to
ア
find that
プリ
they
で
quite that
マイクロソフトランチはさ
elderly.
ちゃんとなってないよ
They've matured. And here's the battle for third place. Reiterberger now just clear of Marvin Fritz. These guys are going a heck of a lot longer.
Yeah, we've seen Fritz close that gap. You think about the time
Yeah,
that he lost
kind
there
of,
at the start of that race, and he's been able to close
Yeah.
it. But it's such a load of hard work that could be avoided if they can get that Yamaha off the line. It's
それさ
you know, for the last 45 minutes now, he's arguably had to ride that bike harder than his competitors have
Yes.
in the front, and
Yeah.
you just wonder and worry that, you know, 20 hours into this race, is that going to play a
あ
part
もう
in
2ラッ
the
プ
mechanics of the engine and
どういう
everything
ことどういう
else?
こと
We've seen-
プラ
we've
ス
seen
2ラッ
that
ププラス
pass with the Yamaha after sterling work by the likes of Karel Hanneke to get themselves back into this kind of position. Because look, they've hauled themselves right in now to virtually on the back of that battle for the lead between D'Amelio and Black.
ピッて入ったね
And as
23
you
に
said,
なったけ
clearly
ど
that Ducati's burning quite a bit more fuel than these guys because
Yeah.
we're now 4 laps extra that,
Yeah.
that these are able to do over the Ducati.
So
Unless there's a
already into
strategy
the
in that.
pit as Leon Haslam's already gone into the pit, so have the National Motors guys.
And the National Motos 55 Honda, that's the leading stock team, and leading by a fair distance as well, to
Yeah.
be fair. The second stock bike is in 12th position, which is the RAC Kronenberger.
Yeah, because the Walchick 777 bike has
okay.
pitted as well. So we're getting quite a load of pit stops all happening at once. So outside, at the moment, we've got outside that top 10, I was going to say, at 11th place we've got Chaz Davis, and it's Sheridan Marias, who's taken over from Dan Linfoot, the former South African champ, and another former South African champion, Stephen Odendahl, in 13th place. Ahead of Peppian Busterbosch, which is a great name. No, Busterbosch has gone up in the pit. So Claudio Corti moves up to 13th. Danny Webb comes into the fray in 14th. Stephen Odendahl has been passed by and drops to 15th. Jonathan Hart in 17th. The point scorers, Johan Nigon in 18th. Lucas Wallshooter, that's a great name, in 19th place. And Gabriel Pons, a famous name, in 20th place. Kevin Collier just outside the points in 21st. And this looks like the first stop for the Suzuki squad.
That was
Wow.
clean, no drama.
Yeah. It's always the case with them, isn't it? Now, Yamaha, this usually does involve drama. Karel Hanneke prepares to take over.
はい大体やっぱ重たいねマイクロソフトランチは
That was a good run there from Marvin Fritz.
It was, wasn't it? Another former German IDM Superbike champion.
ものすごい
That
熱い
always seems like the longest pit lane in the world when you've got to ride down there with a limiter on.
Yes, and watch people going past.
Especially with that niche competitor right there in front of you.
Wow, it is a long time, isn't it?
Yes.
Bubbling along. And here's the Ducati with Chaz Davis on board, trying to make its way back through the pack. Chaz already up to 6th place then with those other Katsuki Watanabe now leading it ahead of Karel Hanneke. So Kazuki Watanabe and Karel Haneke then have made good with their pit stops, and they've emerged in first and second places ahead of Mike DeMeglio, Reiterberger in fourth, Etienne Masson on the Kawasaki still there in fifth place, and BMW Motorrad now takes over at the front with Chaz Davies sixth, seventh for Gregory Leblanc. Gregory Leblanc, blimey. The man in the lovely white boots from all those years ago.
いやこれほんとマジで熱いな。大丈夫かこれほんま。
2015, LeBlanc was winning either Le Mans or the Bordeaux or both of them in the same season. An extraordinary record.
いやこれマジでね発熱すごいぞ。
And I think Freddie Flore is going to grab a word with Marvin Fitz after that spectacular. Ask him, Freddie, ask him what happened at the start. Because he gave himself a lot of work to do.
Marvin, starts are always difficult and tricky. Just tell us about your starts, but also positive. You were really pushing the pace out there. At this early stage of the game, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Coming back was easier than I expected. Was unfortunately really unlucky with the bike. Didn't start it because since few races we don't struggle anymore that much with the starting. But all the week was great. But this time was unluckily, unfortunately not the best. But we came back well without any risk. It's very windy outside, so we have to be a bit careful. But it was a good start of the race. We are now back with the leaders. And now I think we have the strongest team with 3 strong riders against the other competitors with which not so strong, I guess. But we will see.
あら15番まで上がってきたよ。おじいさん。
Really, Marvin? Okay, we'll let them know then.
トネさんが
You're not so strong then, are you not, fellas?
So the Honda's been able to go the longest without a fuel stop, which is that's 27 laps without pitting.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So the Honda comes in now.
4
Let's see whether it's Hook or Alain Teche, who's taken over from Gino Rea. Teche, of course, won the World Championship with them in 2018, so he's a kind of welcome back to a pit that he once knew. Don't forget to go to the GoFundMe page for Gino Rea's rehabilitation if you get the opportunity, because there's a lot of money needed for that boy's recuperation. And next we'll be talking to Greg Black. It'll be interesting because Greg speaks such fluent French, and then when he breaks out into broad Derbyshire, it comes as something of a shock. Because he's been so many years over in France, where his mum and dad run kind of holiday cottages and stuff.
He's the reverse of Sylvain, isn't he? Sylvain does the same.
Yes.
Sylvain has a Midlands accent and then just reverts back to his mother tongue.
Absolutely the opposite. So Bridgestone leads, ahead of Bridgestone 2 Dunlop, and Bridgestone 3 Pirellis, and then 2 Dunlops rounding out the top 10. So all the tyre manufacturers involved. Greg Black, of course, took the first stint on the Search Suzuki, so let's see how he's doing. Danny, where enters the top 10?
So, Greg, this is the end of the first stint. So first, at all, what is your feeling? Because it was you were fighting, but at the same time, you can see you manage it also.
Yeah, of course. We know, it's a 24-hour race, so it's going to be long. The conditions are a bit tricky out there because there's quite a lot of wind. So we knew here with the slipstreams, it's like Moto3 sort of style. You can gain 5-7 tenths during the straight, so you can't really pull away, I think. So when I was leading the race, I saw Danny Forest come around, and the Ducati's really fast but uses a lot of fuel. So I knew he was going to come in first. Then we were battling with the BMW TSR, so it was good fun, good fun out there. But mainly, basically managing the stint, because like I said, there's no point pushing too hard at the moment. Just need to manage the
もう
gap.
何も出てこないから何を言え
Let's get roll on.
And the last question, in your last lap, you overtake Mike, the TSR bike, just when you go in the pit lane. So you want to send a message?
No, not at all. Actually, I didn't know I was going to go in the pit lane. I thought I was going to do one lap more, but my fuel light came on slightly early, so then I had to come in. But I nearly hesitated to do one more lap. But anyway, it's good fun out there with Mike. Good battle for the championship, and it'll be fun.
Thank you, best of luck.
He's had quite a career, that young man. I mean, as well as coming through European Superstock 600 and thousands, he started early in World Endurance and got himself established well early with a fourth place here at the Bold d'Or in 2009. And his first victory coming in about 2015. And then 2019, in fact, they're looking for a hat trick because there wasn't a 2020 event. So 2019 and 2021, Cert Suzuki have won here twice. So they're looking for win number 3, third on the bounce.
出てきた。
Greg's really sort of established
15位。
himself
He really has.
in the world endurance. It's sort of his niche, and he's got his calling there, and it's great to see. It's nice to have an Englishman so competitive.
He used to be, when he was a kid in European Superstock 600, he was mentored by Sebastian Charpentier, the two-time World Supersport champion. He really saw him as his boy at the time. That incident was back in 2007, a very young Greg Black finished fourth in the European Superstock 600 Championship. He's 34 now. Again, the years go by and you forget to add them on. So the lead at the moment held by FCC TSR Honda ahead of Cert Suzuki.
Hello everyone and welcome to Manila, Sweden, where we also have a championship at stake. This night might be crucial for especially one gentleman, the one behind us, Bartosz Marzik, who is going for his third gold medal in the Speedway World Championship. That is a question for you, Scott. Is Barty going to leave Manila?
なんか動かないんだよ。
Well, it could well be, but the guy on my shoulder is going to be pushing him all the way. So it's going to be a great night's race. And these guys going for World Championship. There's so much at stake, qualification spots, and for me, it's one of my favourite tracks on the calendar. There's so many racing lines, so it's going to be an awesome night's racing for sure.
Thank you. We're looking forward to tonight. Hope you're going to join us at 7 p.m. here in Manila.
So if you must leave the Bold d'Or, well, why not stay with us by some other means? If you must leave the Bold d'Or, go for a quick blitz round the speedway tracks over in Sweden, and you'll find yourself with some pretty good entertainment. 0.2 of a second then separate Josh Hook from Katsuki Watanabe. Watanabe, I was whoa, and hang about.
That was a check. I'm going to dive up the inside.
Michael Check, the two-time IDM German champion, wasted no time pushing himself through.
Yeah, you just touched earlier on, Jack, about Gino. Obviously, Gino Ray had a serious crash there at Suzuka Ray Tower, and we're sending all our best to Gino. There's a family page set up. It's really easy to donate. It's all going back to his rehabilitation. You can go on the internet, go to GoFundMe, and you can literally search for Gino Ray, however you want to pronounce it, and on there, make a donation. As motorbike racers, we should all be looking after each other. We're the minority at the end of the day. And the beautiful thing about bikes is it brings people together. And Gino's devoted his life to racing bikes. And I think it's now time we can all show him a little bit of love. Can't we jump on there and throw a few quid his way?
He's certainly given me some excitement in my time. That thrilling and climax at Portimao to his European 600 Superstock endeavours against Marco Busolotti. Wow, that was some race that, because it was, as the race changed at the front, so the championship positions were changing. It was absolute madness for the last few laps, and it was only on the last lap, at the finish, that it was sealed. Fantastic. Look at this lovely shot. I love that. I've always liked Josh Hook because he appeared briefly. He was on. He got the graveyard slot in World Superbike with Grillini Kawasaki and decided, you know what, I really don't want this. So he popped up in the British Superbike paddock, having turned his back on World Supers. And he said, I haven't got 50 grand to get myself into a paddock. I've got the bags of money to go about it, and I just like the way he's done that.
I worked with a guy back in 2008 who'd done a lot of work with Josh, and he said he's going to be the next big thing, and I think here he is running at the front of the World Endurance for a factory Honda team. It's great to see all the different nationalities as well.
Yes, yeah, I love that.
You've got the Australian, Ukrainian, Japanese, Czech, French, English.
And of course, he's not yet 30. He's 29-year-old. And the other thing I really love, he comes from Turee, which is a rather obscure spot, brought up on a farm in Turee, which was also produced the great Troy Bayliss.
Yeah.
So there's a great history around there.
They're fair shoes to fill, though, aren't they?
Yes. And there's the number 777 bike, which is placed at the moment in 10th place. Danny Webb doing a fine job in 7th place. Great stuff. One of them likely pairing, Danny Webb and Kevin McBrady. Danny Webb number 777 on the Wojcik 777 Super Sport.
もう動画撮ったからね。どうでもいいけど。
Now 31 years old, the cheeky chappie from Kent. And he's a guy who's done also. They had this thing called the BMW Motor and Race Trophy in 2018. Which
ほんまいまいちだなこれ。
it was I don't quite understand what it was, but it certainly took him about Europe to some pretty obscure places, and he won that championship. And BMW were quite chuffed.
Yeah, Danny's he's another one that's so much experience. He's been around. He's done the British. He's done Grand Prix. He's done World Championship. He's done the
He's
TT.
tried the TT.
Me and him were like nobles together across from each other. That's how we got to know each other. Both smashed to pieces. How are you doing, Danny? Yeah, I'm all right, Joe. Yeah, you know. And it's funny because it's times like that as a racer, you create a bond. And me and Danny have every time we see each other, you know, we have a chuckle about that. It's you know, but and then he did the IRRC as well, which is as you just touched on there, it's the International Road Racing Championship. They go out, it's sort of Eastern Europe really, and it's back to sort of grassroots racing, but brilliant racing, and
お、あんまり動かへんからな。
he made the transition onto roads really, really easily.
Yes.
I think the TT was a little bit of a struggle, but to sort of hang on to a bike round there, a super bike as well. Danny's only a little fella who won't mind me saying that. It's a physical place to try and hold on to a
おお、吉村いいからいったね。
TT. But he did it for a couple of years, and then obviously he's found himself in the World Endurance paddock and going well. To be fair, I mean the for a stock team there, they're running in 10th.
ちゃうのか。
And leading the stock class as well.
And of course he's been in World Super Sport with James Tosland as his kind of advisor, and of course he's way back 125 GPs back in 2011, then on to Moto 3 in 2012.
バイクのメーカーの表示っている？いるのか。
Actually finished top 10 in 125 Grand Prix. That's something we tend to forget. Back in 2010, that's quite an achievement really with an Aprilia. And also he's touched on British Super Sport in his time. The Red Bull Academy, the Spanish.
あ、これ3ができた。31。 これからだよ。
Classic bike racing. He's raced. He's done a bit with the classic bikes.
Which of course is where the True Love twins started. Matt True Love, who's dipping into world endurance for the first time here. Is you know, they started out on classic zinging Yamaha 250s and 350s. Amazingly. So Josh Hook leading the way then, 32 laps in ahead of this, Suzuki.
ちょっとね、14秒ぐらい差があるから、なかなかこう行く前にね、次上がっていくのは、これから時間はかかるかもですけどね。
In 7th place, the number 4 Tati and then their Beringer bike, the Beringer racing bike, and notice that on board that now is Craig LeBlanc, a man who's got a phenomenal track record here, who went something like 7 years, always winning either Le Mans or the Bordeaux or all of them together.
Yeah, even if you're not a massive follower of world endurance, you know the name Gregory LeBlanc.
あのね、でもね、この利根さんがボルドールに行って走ってるっていうのは、やっぱりね、注目されてるんですよ。で、日本のチームが、まあ、TSR は一応日本のチームとはいえね、
after all that success in the 24-hour races, it was
あれなんやけども、その純粋に日本人が走ってる日本のチームっていうのが多分あれ違う、すごくこ
the
う
wrong kind of reputation there, if you like.
日本人が少ないみたいな話もなんか言ってたような気するからさ、
Between teammates, that tests of friendship.
そういう面ではやっぱり
Four years on the bounce and won the Bordeaux is remarkable. And who has won the Bordeaux most? Maxon Philippe,
そんな気がしますね。
Suzuki guy has won it 7 times, but so has a Norton-mounted guy called Gustave Lefebvre, a Frenchman, who between 1947 and 1957 first as a single rider on his own, and then as a pair with Georges Briand when they started letting 2 people ride after 1953. He's won it 7 times out of a 10-year period on a 500 Norton, because Norton had won something like 9 times and Lefebvre has been responsible for 7 of them.
And up to that point, it had to be one man for
It had to be
24
one man
hours.
up until 1953.
Wow.
Which was also, oddly enough, actually, was the year that that was the year that the Le Mans 24-hour. Whoa, someone riding off.
That's
That's
Watanabe.
Is that a problem? Watanabe's gone straight on with the Yoshimura's monoplane. Now that is the World Championship leader. Has he hit a
Still
problem?
running.
But not running right. Oh.
He keeps looking down to the left-hand side.
So as they reach. Whoa. So what happened at that point?
I wonder if he's got a gearbox issue there, because it doesn't sound like he's able to go down the box.
Making sure that no one's about to come off his chunk before he.
I tell you what, Mikkelchik was lucky not to get collected there, because
Yes,
he had to go the
he-
long way around, and that's 200 mile an hour plus through there. That
Yeah.
is a load of thinking fast has to go on there.
Now this opens up things in a rather interesting fashion straight away, relatively early in the race, and in terms of they're the guys on 130 points leading the World Championship.
It's really important now for everybody in this team to remain calm. You know,
Yes.
we're an hour in, and there's a long way to go in this
Yes.
race, and it's so easy to start becoming flustered.
あれどうした
Mechanics panicking. I don't think for 1 minute that this is a team that would happen with.
No.
Everybody knows their job role and they're all prepared.
あれ吉村入れたよ、何がある
It's,
の
it's human nature. You know, the pressure's on. You want to resolve this issue as quickly as you can, but it's really,
Machine
really
trouble.
important to remain calm.
And that's been drilled into these guys by Dominic Melion over all those years of winning world championships as he went from a man with mad black hair to a man with mad white hair. It was always the man who seemed to have it about him to be able to calm things down, even when he turned a bit frantic. So Watanabe, of course, there's nothing he could do at the moment. He just has to calmly sit down and sit this one out.
You know, I'm not entirely sure where they're going to start with that problem, because there doesn't
Yeah,
look to
no.
be a huge amount going on with regards to getting bodywork off it, and there didn't seem
No.
to be a huge sense of urgency to start stripping.
アンダ
cars
ー
off
カウル
now,
外しました。
you know, I would have
Where-
thought that
where
would have
did
been the
it
first thing that they did do. It's always hard through your headset, but when they fired that bike,
Yeah.
then it didn't sound like the healthiest thing in the world. It
No.
sounded quite, there was quite a lot of tapping.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what's happened there. Fingers crossed that they can get back out and get circulating, because you know, it all adds to the race, and from a viewing point of view, we want all those top teams in it to the very end.
And meanwhile, 2 of those top teams who are in that fight are right here fighting for the lead, Hook and Haneke.
まあでもね、トネさんのところは
Wow. And there you have some evidence.
あ
right?
排気が排漏れしてるね。
So we're just draining
Drain
hot
the oil
oil.
out of it, and I guess they'll want to know what's inside there. That'll give them an indication if it's full of metal filings, then that.
トネさんのところはさ、もう全員が初走行じゃん。
Can they change an engine? Or is that not
で
permitted?
やっぱりこう心君とかもはその免許で増してるし、チームとしても何回増してるからね、なかなか難しいよね。
Josh Hook just ahead of the number 7 Yamaha. And Reiterberger, I beg your pardon, right behind the move is Ilya Michalczyk. Karel Haneker, of course, the man between the two of them. So Hook, Haneker, Michalczyk. And then another man who's jumped ship this
まあ
year.
ちょっとねいろいろそのお話しできひん内容もあるんやけども、まあいろいろねそのああなったらどうだろうとかいう、まあ、ちょっとねいろんな話をあるところでしたのよ。ね、詳しく言えへんから何言ってんかよくわからんね。
Not very good Aprilia outfit. He didn't last very long. He was very morose when I found him in the back of the garage hiding. Which of course you're going to be fairly morose when you're having a sad time on a kind of inferior bit of machinery, aren't you?
If you don't ever feel like your potential's being had,
Yes,
then
exactly.
you're never going to be a happy camper here.
And he's had what he's had is a lot of injury. He's always been a really promising fella, but with a lot of injuries. Finished top 3 in the European Superstock 1000 series. And that was
ちょっとこれ吉村が落ちるのはきついね。
used to be able to find a strong ride in there with factory Yamaha and stuff like that.
で、14位ね
Away through,
吉村が下がったので
to bigger and better things.
これは痛いね吉村。
So the virtual championship puts FCC GSR Honda France to the front, 21.5 points behind Yamaha, minus 47 for Yoshimura, minus 59 for BMW, minus 72.5 for Tati Beringer. So I thought that FCC GSR could be taking a look at this with considerable interest, because this isn't looking good, is it?
It's not looking good at all.
あ、今あれか TSR があれか186ポイントでこれもうだから TSR がいっちゃうねっていうこと ?3 年ぶりか
Yeah, it was just a case of just don't blow the bike up, don't have a mechanical. It's just a bike break around here, just with the length of that back straight. The bike's sat
OG さんが14位
so long. It is a fast circuit, and
当然だよ
there
ね
needs to be an element of well, a combination of a lot of things, but you need to have an element of mechanical sympathy. You know, talking with a few of the riders, their mentality at the very beginning of this race was to short shift going onto the back straight and just try and
あーもうこれ厳しいな
a softer approach with the bikes and give the engines half a chance.
吉村はちょっと難しいね
They're
今
fighting
回は
tooth and nail, aren't they already?
まだでも
So
再開にはなってな
I
いよ
guess they're having to push a little bit
あ
harder.
と
but
3
It's surprising to and a bit of a shame.
19ラップとかってどういうこと
So Yoshimura Cert Model Suzuki then has already been nearly 6 minutes in the pits. Meanwhile, the battle at the head between Josh Hook and Karl Haneker, with Ilya Michalczyk in 3rd place for BMW, 4th Florian Marino,
ここにいいじゃん
5th Chaz Davies Ducati, 7th, 6th sorry,
ヤマハが来てるね
Then
結
it's
構
Claudio Corti up to 7th place. Well, come on, Claudio. And Sheridan Marias up to 8th, still just ahead of Danny Webb in 9th place. So the two Wojcik bikes running really strongly together. An endurance bike just ahead of the Superstock bike. Stephen Odendahl on the 333. Igor Experience's bike in 10th, followed by Valentine Susha. Kevin Collier in there in 12th place. The little former Moto2 champion of Italy.
Je pense qu'on est beaucoup d'équipes pour ces 100 ans à vouloir gagner ce vol d'or.
333ってあれだよねもうそういうさ音楽は流さんとこではいというわけでねなかなか大変だねさあコメントちょろっとチェック大丈夫だね何やろ今ねシャフトのどこまで行ってるねギアかなギアっていうかその 何やろ、伝達系、ミッションがダメなのか分からんね。いやでもそう考えたらさ、去年のボルドールの心くんがどんだけすごかったかってことだよこれ。当然今年もね、これからですけど、次でしょ。いや要はね、初めて走るところでいきなりいいタイムを出していったのよね、去年。確かあれでしょ、2人エースもいるし、もう1人もいたけど、心君がいいタイム出したからトップ走ったわけですよ。で今回はトップ走ってない、1番目走ってないけど3番目ってことなんですよ。いやーワクワクするね、ほんと。なんだっけ SST クラスで今4位なのよ。SST クラスで4位だよ。9位から4位になってんだよ。どんだけ速いんだってね。すごいすごい。いやなんか表彰台も乗るんじゃないのこれ。トラブルなくて行ったら多分表彰台どうやろな、どのチームが777か。ちょっと待ってね。EWC OJ ジェシックレーシング。うわー悔しいやろな。ハイライト、もうハイライトか。そうヤマハまたかかってないねエンジン。毎回なんやあれ。8ターンの時もそうやし。作戦か。ウォージェシックレーシング STK777 がこれトータルなのかな。 SST19、SST4、SST6 位、SST2 位とか取ってるのよ。一応ね。それでいけばそんなに遅いチームじゃないんですよ。ここがあれその SSD クラス優勝するかもね。 これからどういうねその24時間でトラブルがあったりとかマシンのねもうハイライトになってるからもう何も出てない。あ、なんかね、はいはいはいはいはいはい。吉村がね、なんかおかしいのよ。カラフルなところでコースアウトしてっておかしいってなったんや。で、なんかね、排ガス漏れしてるんかなんかかな、オイルを出してるだけトラブったよね。33と55。チーム33ルイとアプリル元で、これが、過去のね戦績でいくと21年が SST12 と4位で1922が SST12 4ボルドールでもね4位で21年は出てないの。ボルドール実績でいくとそんな出てないの？ボルドールのね21年は出てない。19、20のシーズンで17位の4位。なんですよ。55だっけ？でもね、その先に55がしてんのよ。トンさん29位まで上がってきた。じゃあEWC の55ですね。全然違うもん。心くんだ。心くんだ。入ったね。さあこっからどうなっていくかやね。映してるよ。OG バイ OG サラダさん、渥美心。おお、心くん。おお、マシン振れてるね。もう安定だよね。うわー、かっこいいね。なんかね、去年と違ってそのコース分かってるから 余裕っていうかなんか走りがなんか落ち着いてる気がするね。なんかまあ11番には抜かれるわな。それでついていくね。11番にスリップでうまいあ、シャドウウルトラマンやウルトラマンシャドウや。バトルフォーフォース。
I tell you what, if the Watcher bikes finish in the positions they are now, there'll be some Polish vodka getting cracked.
Yeah, they certainly will. Well, they've got every right to celebrate absolutely in those kind of positions.
ちょっとね、タイム差はあるね。20秒ほど。ええ感じや感じ。心君が言ったよ。
Man who's had some success recently in World Super Sport, but not as much as we were expecting. So I suppose when you've got a big brother who really does the job, you almost kind of expect that the other brother's going to come along to the party a bit, don't you? And that there's a bit of a difference between Maverick and Isaac.
Yeah, we were talking about Josh Hook having to follow in the footsteps of Troy Baylor.
あ、また落ちたよ。
They're not easy footsteps to follow, are they, when your brother's doing what he's doing. But again, he's having a good race there. They're having a good race, obviously. Now, because we're getting to that stage where the third riders are coming in and another pit stop, it just changes all the timing screens. Everyone's going to be in strange positions until everything starts to settle down again in probably about 10 laps time. By that point, we're going to see the leading on the pit, and all the positions should then even out back to where we would expect them to be.
あれもうあれ終わった？
The Ducati's back up running in form, so Chaz should be sitting on that Ducati in form position.
So Team Montpellier and Supporter CMS Motor score 148.5 points, minus 17 for Team 33 Louis after minus 18 for Team LH Racing. So it's a tight battle for runner-up in that championship. Oh, I see. Now they're corrected to minus 26.5.
バーチャルワールドカップって何なの？
Well, I never could do all level that. Probably Robinson's going out with the class at that stage.
ああ、あれか。SST クラスでいくとあれだ。
Yeah, we're on board with the super stock leaders at the moment.
の順位だね。
And that team, the Montpellier team, is actually made up of the French fire service.
Yes.
A lot of volunteers to come and do this, and well, if they're as good at fighting fires as they are racing motorbikes and putting a team together, they should be wearing the same bands.
Actually, a lot of those teams are like that, aren't they? Like that ADSS 97 Kawasaki team that's racing the super stock class. It's actually access direct site services, and it's owned by Chris Platt, who was the first rider out, who's in it for 50 years old anyway, as it is. Industrial cleaning, testing, inspection, and he did some VSB and BSW Super Sport in the early 2000s, and returned to racing in 2014, second the No Limits Endurance Championship, which is an interesting little
おお、抜けないね。
UK, isn't it?
ストレート。
A kind of 6-hour endurance championship that takes in Pembury and Buxton and various tracks like that.
Yeah, Crawford, Donington, and it's a championship that's done really, really well in the UK, and I think it's a shame that we don't have a British World Endurance round, because I think that we would actually welcome it. We would get behind it. Obviously, the French they're so
あ、上がったやん。
racing, but I
3位になったよ。
that interest in it is starting to grow in the UK. I think the riders
3位
need to realise
心君。
it's actually
やっぱ早いな。
a way of going racing when you consider it, dare I say, trying to get a ride in the British Championship, to come and do World endurance and get to ride these circuits. And do you know what? If you love riding motorbikes and you get to ride them for 24 hours, what's better? Yeah, yeah. There's nothing better, is there? So this is not looking good at all.
吉村きついな、23分。これちょっともしかしたらっていうのがあるんだよね。
And it's that frustrating situation where if a bike's been crashed, everybody can be on hand, everybody can get involved and do something, but when it's something that's as terminal as that, there's only so many pairs of hands in the mix, and everyone else has just got to be a bystander, and it's so frustrating to have to stand and watch and be helpless to it.
ピットの加減かな。これでも本当にね、トップがこう24時間ずっとね、そのトラブルなかったら本当にその差がないのよ。スパの時も確かそうだったでしょ。ギリギリ最後まで最後の最後で BMW が行っちゃったんだよね。
I'm quite surprised at how early the Moto8, the 96 Yamaha hit us based on the amount of time that all the other riders have been able to keep going. I do wonder if there was a
トネさん映したってくれ。本当にもう。
It's not the most not pleasing of engine talks, is it?
ああ、BMW なんやな。周回で引っ張られたね。
You know, it's nobody's fault as such. As somebody that's been caught, it's your responsibility. You stay on your line. I love hearing attempted English as you hand the bike over. Team Arrow Racing, Yamaha, Johan Negan, talking to Lucas Troutman. So obviously English becomes their common language, or broken English becomes their common language. And I wonder if they're talking about the wind. We've had reports all weekend of how strong the wind is and how much of an issue it's causing. Yeah. So I wonder if that's playing a part in it. In come the super stock leaders. They're just heading out, aren't they? Oh, sorry, they're just heading out. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking they was resting up as he came in. Philip Steinmeier.
So
Josh Hook leads the way, second place for Clara Hamilton, third place for the BMW Motorrad squad.
一応ピットのね都合かもやけど、今現在トップですよ。 SST 10位になってきたよ。おー、ヤマハいったね。今ピットインね。あ、2番目がココロ君かっていうこと？ちょっと見てないんだよね。
taken down with some illness. There's all sorts of variables, but within the endurance race and your 3 riders, there should only ever be one person in the pits that's dressed and ready to go. And not ready to go, and the other rider should be sat there ready to go at the drop of a hat. So they don't get all that big of a rest. They get a 45-minute window when they can be out in the leathers, and then they need to be straight back in the suit. So it's hard to do that over a 24-hour period as well.
ショートメールであれ
Carol Haneke, he started out early. In 2013, he was the Red Bull Rookies champion. And he's still only 26, the lad from Brunel.
何も来てないよ。
His Grand Prix, his career derailed fairly early, but by Adams has made a career for himself out of this line. Here's the 3-3-3 team leading. So that's... Josh Hook leads the way. Carl Haneke in second place. Mikla Chika next up, and followed by SRC Kawasaki, Tati Beringer, the ERC Ducati, having made another stop, is back out again. 1 minute 30 behind, and then
もう完全にバラせるよ、吉村。もう30分になるよ。大丈夫か？
And then the Wojcik EWC team, 99, and the 333 squad in 9th place. 10th place for the number 96 Motor Ant team. That is Isaac Vinales. They, of course, won the Superstop Cup a couple of years back with the young Englishman Stephen Hill on board, alongside a man old enough to be his dad, Robbie Rutherford, who came within 14 points of the World 250cc Grand Prix 1 Championship way back in the day behind Manuel Paciani. Remember him?
Arauco's still out there racing now, isn't he? He's on the 66 OG Motorsport.
I wonder if he's still, you know, I wonder if he's still dentistry, if there still does dentistry as his full-time job or something like that, because that's where he qualified in the University of Turin way back in the days. That's what he got his degree in.
If he charges what my dentist charges, he can afford to fund the whole house.
You're very lucky to be able to afford the sums of money requested, boy. So at the front now, we've got Yamaha leading the way. Suzuki really look like they've had it. Series Primus Classic, of course, is coming your way at the moment on
トネさんもだいぶ上がってきたんじゃない？
Josh Hook, Carl Haneke, Nico Chip. We just keep on having this bunch absolutely glued together, and we're already coming up to an hour and 3/4 into the race.
ピットのおかげでだいぶ落ちたんですよ、16位まで。これが最終的にどうなるかね。お、26位まで来た。トネさん。戻ってきた、元に戻ったよ。よかったよかった。だから1回も見てないのよ。一度も見てないんですけど。映ってたのかな。
Leon was an example of someone who just loves to ride bikes. He just whenever he gets the opportunity, he'll go and race.
I don't think, you know, he's had a difficult year in the VSB this year, hasn't he? It's been, you know, it's a difficult transition to go from the World Superbikes with the electronic aids to going back to VSB where they're not allowed any rider aids at all. And we obviously haven't seen the best of him.
お、1個上がった。25。まあちょっとなんとも言えないけどね、ピットの加減かもわからないです。
Yeah, we've seen quite a few of the World Superbikes guys struggling with that when they're just trying to chip away and come back to it.
Well, Tom Sykes is a particular example at the moment on the Paul Birds Ducati. Yeah.
Nicolo Canepa coming out, getting ready. He's a class act, isn't he?
He's been around for such a long time.
I'm going to say he's another one that you expect to take his helmet off and have grey hair. And, yeah, he's been around a long, long time.
Always been surrounded by beautiful women.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jack.
And here comes his Yamaha teammate. So Nico Canepa, he was European Superstock 1000 champion as far back as 2007. The only 2 races he won that year, Donington Park and Brands Hatch. So obviously he's always had a love of the UK. And of course he's been Ducati's MotoGP test driver. He's done all sorts of stuff.
He did a couple of seasons in MotoGP, didn't he, on the Pramac bike?
Yeah. Finished 16th in 2009. Yes, he was looking like a possible MotoGP prospect at that time. And then they went Moto2 and then back to European Superstock SBK. He wrote that terrible mural, remember that came out of the States. He very gallantly wrestled that down. I like the way you say, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't quite hear what they...
Sorry, I talked.
No, it's always difficult to hear what they say, but, you know, the rider communications between each other when you finish the stint, you really want to just give them the bare minimum. And if it's just a nod and a thumbs up, then usually that's the best because it means there's nothing to report. But they'll just be sharing any little bits of information, you know, if the bike's got a bit of a vibration or if the tyres are starting to go off in a certain area. You know, as the day goes on tonight, we're going to see the atmospherics change.
まだちょっとあれやね。
Will change ever so slightly.
Alex.
That low sun's going to create another challenge for the riders. Very similar to the night practice of the Islandman TT with the sun's coming down.
ライダーチェンジか。
Sun's blinding. So it's a very difficult time to sort of navigate. This is heartbreaking to see the Cert guys.
いいじゃないですか。
I'd forgotten that he was working, that Pitti was working there, the double world supersport champion was working there as their crew chief. I was just thinking to myself, it's an Australian gentleman, but the white hair threw me.
It was the beard that threw me. I was looking at that thinking, I'm sure that's Pitti.
It is.
I didn't want to make a fool of myself.
A man who
ああ、こういうなってるね、カメラすげえな。どうでもいいかもだけど、ちょっとコーヒーいただきます。コメント大丈夫？J スポーツオンデマンドご覧くださいね。ちょっと端っこだけ。心。あ、これいいね。ね。
This is Randy DePunier talking about ex-MotoGP men, 250GP men. Randy DePunier making his exit on the SRC by Kawasaki.
25だね、一緒でね。
Josh Hooker's really made a place for himself on the tracks. These guys, I love it when these guys get properly established in a team, and of course they've enjoyed winning world champions just 4 years back.
Josh, perfect starts. For sure, this is only 2 hours, but perfect starts. The pace is good. You are training leading. What is your feeling?
Yeah, didn't want to sort of push too hard, you know, it's very windy out there, so especially in the last sector, it's a lot of crosswind with banking, so the front feeling's not the best, but I just managed the pace and stay consistent, tried not to make too many mistakes, and I didn't get fast. I think the boys behind me were just rolling off out of the gas, they didn't want to leave, but
じゃあアプリの更新が終わったけど、
see how that goes, but
結局エクスペリアは何が入ってたの？わからん。
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Looks a lot like Ryan Pickles.
He's got the classic long Aussie hair as well.
Those startling blue eyes.
You know, we saw this from the factory Honda team in Suzuka. They never put a foot wrong, did they? That performance that they had out there was just outstanding.
Well, I can remember those guys were they celebrated their World Championship win in Suzuka.
Yeah.
I know it's almost a side issue to the result of the race, but it was a great victory for them that year. By the way, I've got apologies to Nico Canada. In fact, the Hero EVR month that he spent a season riding in World Superbike, which, you know, he very gallantly persisted with. Keep fighting Gino Rea, help Gino Rea's rehabilitation fund by contributing, please, via the Goal Fund page.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing I did it in the morning, laid in bed. It took me about 15 seconds to do it.
Yeah.
Straight out my account, done. You know,
Yes.
and it's a small fee that you know it's times are hard out there. Everybody's struggling for a quid at the minute. But, you know, if you can spare anything, £10, if you can put something in, you know, do. Like I say, we've got to look after each other, haven't we?
Coming down at the back of the Mistral Straight, Honda in the lead. There's the second place, number 37, Marcus Reiterberger. Very bad, Guanoni. Got that one wrong. Jeremy Guanoni, it's so unexpected to see him not in Kawasaki Team Green, but he is indeed on bike number 37 for BMW.
And they've all got similar styles.
Yeah. And size.
You know, you look pretty comfortable out there. Didn't seem to be pushing too much. How was that stint for you?
yeah, well, exactly, we was not so push.
これあれだよね。その日本語の放送何もないんだよね。
The pace was quite fast, and to be honest,
Okay.
we was just pushing for the pace not coming. And yeah, we did quite good job. We did 28 laps.
おかしくない？
Target, and looks like we won that more than after, and
本当に。
in
じゃあちょっと
more hours. So yeah, feel confident. The bike works really well. Now I'm confident it will go down, and then I think we
全く同じなのか。
arrive even more easily.
You mentioned the
Oh,
weather
that's it, yeah.
effects of the wind. Is that playing a part at the moment?
Well, it's really strange weather.
No,
because the
not
sun
yet.
is really hitting the helmet, and the helmet really quite warm. But when wind is blowing side, it's really cold. So it's like your head is hot and the body is still cold. So I felt sometimes the winter death, but now it's racing and never was similar in the race weekend.
Thank you.
That's I really like the fact that the head is hot, body's cold.
I half expected him to laugh, but he didn't.
Very entertaining. So we make it eventually hand it over to Jeremy Guanoni for the third stint.
And looking further down the field, the Superstock guys have all sort of closed up. The one check 7717 with Marek I can't pronounce that. Skopek is their 11th as the leading stock bike. Philip Steinmeier on the Montpelliers number 18 Yamaha R1. They're in 12th, so first and second in class.
Yeah.
プリ出演のアプリってなんかそういうことか。ログイン設定できてないってことか。
Yeah, I mean, the Mako team in 10th there, they were quite a bit further down than early on in the race, but this just shows endurance racing. You know, we're a couple of hours in now, and really, and things are just settling down. They've just been able to claw their way back up into that top 10.
They've been in this game for a long time. That's a bag load of experience working on that.
Tasha at the inside of Canopy. Was it Canopy? No, sorry. It was a backbacker. I thought it was a fair lunge. Do you know, before I came and sat in a box with somebody doing this job, I always thought it was easy as somebody sat at home to make the call on what's going on, but you're looking at so many things in the commentary mode, aren't you? There's a lot of things that you're looking at away from the screen, and you look up and something's changed. All the time.
How often that strikes you. The moment you look away at the tiny screen, bang, something will happen.
There'll be somebody sat at home there going, well, that wasn't Canopy. I wasn't looking, I was looking at my time on the screen.
So there's 29 years old now, the lad from Toulouse. With a lot of experience with team on Yamaha, with whom he won the Superstock 600 Championship in 2010. I like the fact, I mean, these lads must have fun. Imagine you're a long
これ全然充電されてねえじゃん。
Portimao, Monza, Misano, Bruno, Nürburgring. I mean, what a lot of fun having all those tracks.
よくよく考えたら。
When you're a racer, it's never enough. You need another big note, That's another track. You never happen.
はい、ちょっと待ってね。ちょっと上がってきたね。俺ね、忙しい。バタバタバタバタ。
He won Le Mans in 2019 with SRC Kawasaki Bulls.
日本シネマのわけわからん。
So even after the pit stops, the things just calming down. Everyone's settling back into their positions. Honda's still on the 3-second advantage. And Depumier on that Kawasaki, holding a strong.
5番だね。ちょっとどうなってんの？
On the Ducati.
Now coming down the Mistral Straight, the aptly-named Mistral Straight.
And the Yamaha didn't really benefit from a draft there, being behind the BMW. It's probably just that little bit too far away to get a toe and get sucked up behind behind that BMW.
Two first-class performers in EWC are out there at the moment, lying in 6th place for the Tati Beringer Kawasaki squad. Leon Haslam's Bastian Mackles, the Belgian, and then Matt Jean on the number 77 bike in 7th place.
Just looking at the number 43 machine team, FMR 34. This is the experimental class where they're able to have different chassis modifications.
Nice colour. Doesn't look to be going terribly quick, but nice colour.
But if it keeps going for 24 hours, that's the name of the game.
Yes, all right.
I'll jump to defence on that one. Still the lead stock machine.
Mark Stolpek on 56 laps complete, 2 laps behind the leader, but running along very nicely.
That just looked like the wind just caught him there and ran him wide. I get the feeling
We've seen that outstrike 1 or 2 people. Yeah. One of the other super stockers did that when you have your Negon riding, being swept out wide. So Wojcik Racing Team lead, Team Pompier now in 2nd place, 3rd for Team 33 Louis April, and then National Motors next up.
なんかあれだね。 これやスマートワンで T カードと
Inside the top 20 in super stock in the stock class, look, the ADSS 97 Kawasaki boys from the UK, 19th place.
ファミマワイファイ
Alf's motorcycles from the Dales, they're based down in Brighton, aren't they? Alf's been doing it a million years.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about things being kind of family run. And this is such a classic.
じゃあファミリーマートか
Alf, these guys in their 60s, Alf from Alf's
ファ
motorcycles.
ミピーね
Byrne, who's the nickname for Alf's sidekick, he's an engineer. And then there's Techers, Ian Middleton, who's been working in British Superbikes with David Ellingham on a BMW stock now. And with Lee Hardy, in fact, he retired from the RAF last year and he used to work for Lee Hardy. And then the crew chief is Alan Cook, owner of Road and Race Performance on the South Coast. The fuel man is Big Andy, and that's Chris Platt's little brother. And Lisa, who's been doing the job for 4 years now on the pit board. And Craig Watson, who's the marketing man from Kawasaki UK, is the kind of front stand, front wheel, rear spindle man.
It's a full family affair.
And Ricky's dad. Ricky's on the stopboard, and Ricky's dad is the fireman, Steve.
Everybody pitches in and pulls their weight.
And that's how ADS 99 come together.
Hi, あれねハイライト本気使えへんがいいかな
That's the history of the Boldore, written out in black and white.
はい、いかがでしょうか。コメント大丈夫？おっさんは見ながらスマホ設定しながらいろいろです。これもうこんなわけわからんぞ。皮肉る何やったっけ皮肉るあった。これじゃないやん。
We get a lot of humidity and a lot of rain, also a lot of races where it's difficult to be demanding track. Physically also really hard for the body, a lot of change with angles, some speed to some fast places, some really slow places, and very, very hard and demanding track. So another brief history of the Boldore. And it looks like, well, it looks like Joe Ackroyd's abandoning ship here. That's, we were supposed to be going till 4 o'clock, chaps, but I see that Mr. Tommy Bridwell and Mr. Ben Ringwald have come rolling in.
もう全部ログインしなあかんのか考えたらめんどくせえな。
We enjoy the next couple of hours with these guys.
大変やん。
And I was forgot that in this day and age we detach our headsets and park them to one side. So And this is Jack Bernicle signing off for now. We'll see you later at about 8 o'clock. Okay, bye.
ゴールドポイント珍しいゴールドポイント。あ、登録されてる。
Guys, here we are, 2 hours in, 1/12 of the race is already done, and yet we are heading here to Boldore with South Ben Rumble alongside the British superstar Tommy Bridewell.
Thank you.
Have you got time?
Thank you, Ben. Hopefully you can hear me all right. We're just swapping over in the comms box here. But yeah, no, what a pleasure it is to be here with you and obviously commentating on the very famous and iconic Boldore 24
大変やなこれ。
2022.
こっちも表示できるの？
Challenger one, I think that perhaps the biggest upset that no one's really expected, of course, the almost bulletproof so far number one Suzuki there heading into the pit garage with oil spitting out the gearbox, and obviously now they're really sort of up against it for even retaining this championship lead, Tommy.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously off air we had the conversation. I was saying off air that you know, I couldn't believe how fast they managed to get the engine out of the Suzuki, but yeah, they've got the engine out. They're obviously rebuilding it.
あ、YouTube 社入れた。
Even in 24 hours to try and rebound is going to be very tough for them. But you know, you can't fault them for trying, and you know that's what's made them such a successful team over the years.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we did see it in the Le Mans race. We had the Rebike Kawasaki
ビッグカメラ入ろう、ビッグカメラ。
engine rebuild there, which they came back through to recover and still score points. And so it is possible, even if they are very last in the finishing ranks, they will still score some points. But it's doubtful now whether it will be enough to hold up the charge of the
ビッグカメラ。ビッグカメラわからん。
There'll be a quick break for those on Eurosport 2. So we'll keep going on Discovery Plus.
これか。
So on screen now we
ビ
have the
ッ
team
グカメラが
the team NX Racing Yamaha there, and of course winners of the Superstock class in thus far 24-hour race. The Superstock class did not have, although they did ride the Superstock bikes at Suzuka, that was not a counting race for the Superstock World Cup Championship, which run in parallel to the UWC World Championship. So this is the third of 3 rounds, in fact, for those riders with the red plates and white numbers. And yeah, the team number 94 NX Racing machine are doing very nicely there. Currently running 16th on track with Lucas Trautmann, the Austrian, at the helm. And yeah, they're running at around about with Mark Maddox Schuppeck on the number 777 machine, leading the Superstock class there, ahead of the Sapper Pompier number 18, 33 Louis Apple Moto, 55 National Moto, are there in 4th place. And then yeah, they're running in 6th place, in fact, in the Superstock class there. There's that long Mistral straight there. You say, Tommy, did you say you've ridden the circuit or not? Not yet?
No, unfortunately, I've not had the opportunity to ride the full card. But yeah, I was chatting to Leon Haslam at Stelton.
よっしゃ入った。
Racing last weekend. He went over, I think, for a
ビッグカメラ入った。
test. And he was saying to me, he said that he feels that
Yamada
the night is
Denki.
going to be keep the focus in the middle of the night down that long back straight. It's a long, mind-numbing straight, almost just flat out.
in the minute you're 2 hours in and you're full of energy and you're focused and you're racing the next guy ahead.
いやまだ入ってんの
When the fatigue sets in and the lugs are like a rabbit, it's going to be harder for sure. But yeah, it's needless to say, it's part of the 24-hour challenge, I guess.
Yes, absolutely, and yeah, here we go. So yeah, the FCC Honda TSR machine is still out in front by about 3.5 seconds. So not a massive gap in terms of 24-hour racing. Still in touch there is the amazing Yamaha.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, it's amazing. Like I say, we're already 2 hours in, and you're still absolutely toe to toe with different manufacturers, different riders. You know, with the pit stops where you can lose so much time. Here we're seeing obviously Suzuki rebuilding the engine. This looks massively. I don't know what the layman terms are, but it's not looking good for him, which is such a shame, you know. But look at the effort the team are putting in to get it rebuilt. But normally when you've got to literally strip the motor down to the bare shell, it's not good. It doesn't look, you know, we were just seeing they've obviously got the crank out already, but it doesn't look like there's any big, what we would call sort of fundamental obvious signs. Normally it blows a hole straight through the side of the engine, but unless it's done the crank or the shells, talking a bit technical now, the shells to the cob rods or even perhaps a piston, you know. So it, like I say, it didn't go with a massive bang, and there wasn't oil everywhere, but such a shame for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, like you say, it looks salvageable, and obviously a big job in the hands there for the mechanics. They are absolutely plumb last now on the running order, we think, on the screens here. So, yeah, you can see that, yeah, the little machine is right at the bottom there. Yoshimura Circuit Local, they have been in since lap 34, and we are now on, where are we on our screens here? So I was catching things up here in the country now, lap 58, so already losing 24 laps, so quite an amazing amount of time for the Yoshimura Local Suzuki team to try and recover that machine. You might have seen there the stickers on the casing and things like that. That's basically the things that if they are replaced, they're not on the bike at the end of it.
Yeah.
Exclusion gone.
Exactly, right? Yeah, and that's obviously the conversation we were having. It's not as simple nowadays. These teams would be able to practice, let's say, an engine change. You know, someone like Yoshimura Suzuki.
お、これどうしたの？あ、そう、K さんやってもらわないのか。
With speed, you couldn't even think possible, but they're not able to do that. They have to rebuild the engine. Whatever is scrutinised at the start of the race, probably the end of qualifying, that's what they're running. You know, if it goes bang, you can rebuild the internals, but you can't just...
ダメだ。
The easy thing is to chuck another engine in. You know, they'd probably be nearly back on track already. It's just the way the rules are. Yeah. It doesn't almost seem right because it seems, to be fair, now realistically they're out of the race. They're still trying to get back into it, and obviously with endurance racing anything can happen. But if they could just chuck another engine in, you've still got a good chance of salvaging, you know, a good position, to be fair.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, now we see the Honda out in front still there, and Tesha. We're on board with the number 18, Sapo Pompier. By the looks of the timing on screen, that's Philip Steinmeier, the Austrian, on board. The screen on the side of the TV there obviously shows that number 18 are leading the Superstock class. Our screens are perhaps a little bit behind because we've still got Marek Schupek on the 777. Bonji racing the stock bike, the pole sitters in that class for the Superstocks, but they have driven down the field, it looks like, on the main screen here. So, yeah, so out in front, Honda FCC TSR, the Yamaha, which amazingly didn't make it off the start yet again, really struggling to start that machine. They are second, and the BMW there in third place.
Exactly, like you said, Ben. It's strange how they still seem to struggle, Yamaha, with the starts. But is it fundamental to their result? I don't think so. In all honesty, you've got 24 hours to keep it cool as a rider. Yes, you might drop 3-4 seconds, you know, straight away, watching Reutenberger on the BMW, and he looked super strong. I actually thought when he got to the front, I actually thought that he had the
Yeah.
actually when
さあ順位変わりました。
Ducati got back to the front to see the BMW start slipping off the pace a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, and now back to fourth place, so you can see lots of Suzuki GSXR 1000RR parts on the floor there. 1
ちょっ
hour
と絶望的やね、吉村。
waiting. Yeah, there's a great black in tracksuit, not in leathers.
No.
So I'm wondering if he's even going to be able to get back on that machine, possibly.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were just seeing there, you've got the crank led there on the floor, you've got the cylinder head. It doesn't look like the team are in an immediate scrabble. Potentially, it's just that fundamental that they can't get it done.
I think we're just about to go down to get an interview actually with a member of that team, so we'll see what they have to say about this coach.
ああ、もうまた吉村。
So yeah, Yoshimura's Suzuki championship leaders by a margin coming into this event. 24 points they had over the Honda. There it goes there on their main Japanese rider Kazuki Watanabe, just running wide there. And yeah, obviously the main reason for that was whatever it is that's causing them to completely rebuild the machine right now.
なんかリアのね、なんか見てんだよね。
Over the FCC Honda team, and then the Yachts are 7 points further back from that. If they finish,
はい、ね、
which is literally
顔がね、アクセル開けたけど。
pick up 7.5 points, but of course you score points in this car from top 10s on 8 hour, 16 hour. So that's what
多分エンジンの中からもう排ガスっていうかなんか漏れてんねん。オーバーヒートしたのなんかもね。
the team manager there for the search squad. And yeah, anything revealing that you were looking at there?
Yeah, I was sort of just trying to get a close eye on it really. To me, it looks potentially like it's
1、2、3、4、5位。
dropped about. What we got here on the screen, this is a BMW.
Ah.
Here's his one only, yeah, pushing the number 37.
BMW 押してる。
At the Suzuki 8 hour as well, not quite as bad as a push for him as it was there towards the 130R at Suzuki last time out, but he is pushing that. You can see there the Gino Ria sticker inside his fairing, and again we just remind you to please check out the GoFundMe page and yeah, search out Gino Ria and just help in his rehabilitation. But what's happening? This is a shot here then, Tommy. What's happening here?
What's happening this? He's dropped on a cylinder.
あ、
Yeah, hear that rattle is the bike's dropped on 3-cylinder now. So that'd be, again, like I was just saying with Suzuki, that would even be a valve. That's an inline 4-cylinder BMW. You can hear that distinctive noise as a razor. It can change tensioner, it could be potentially, but it's that fundamental that it's they've had to push it back to the pits.
これなんだよね、耐久。あ、バーストや。
24 hour, and that front tyre does not look good either. That's a flat front tyre.
違うとこ行ったらあかんかな。
Unless where Jeremy's
フロントがバーストしてる。
from the engine, perhaps he's got a flat front tyre. He's out of breath, we know that anyway.
Yeah, for sure. It's not quite exactly.
Yeah, I can see that.
It certainly isn't a nice, cool, breezy day either. Down there in the south of France, looking nice and warm, of course. And of course, yeah, Guarneri's heart rate would have been spiking there with not just the physical effort, but of course the stress of being in a good position in the race. They were up to third place at that point, and now planting down the order is the BMW. So what a nightmare for these guys. More work to be done in the pits here. So two of the major teams really hitting big trouble. Here, is this where the front tyre goes?
Yeah,
It looks intact there.
yeah, he's fine now, 100%.
いやでもさ、バーストしてないんだよ。
He's obviously come up over the rubber strip, so there'd be that much debris, you know, on the track, on the surface road.
ああピットのその入った時にこけて
the engine,
Yeah,
which is why you push it.
pushing back, exactly that. So where it drops on 3 cylinder,
ちょっとショートカットかなんかピッと入ったんや。その時に焦げたみたい。
with the 3 cylinders still
もしかしたらその時バーストして焦げたかもわからんね。
stays going. As soon as you shut the engine off, the engine will drop down on compression and you can never get it back going. So hence why he's had to obviously push it back.
So the BMW technicians get to work on that motor-rad machine there. The Belgian squad who so enjoyed hearing their home national anthem last time they won there in Spa. Obviously did not have a great time in Suzuka, but yeah, from that sense, this now leaves the SCC Honda TSR squad to duke it out 4.1 seconds between themselves and the Yamaha. And then we have the number 11 machine, the Kawasaki is right up there. Randy Depunier in a good third place right now. And yeah, they are showing about 30 seconds back of the Yacht team. So it's still playful. The number 11 team have had a pretty torrid season. Not a massive amount of points coming their way. And yeah, they're currently lying 11th in the championship at the moment. And yeah, not with an awful lot of hope of any sort of top 5 championship position, certainly. But they won't care too much about that. They'll certainly be hoping to enjoy this position and trying to get up towards a final podium position, of course. And still quite surprised there from the number 6 Ducati, right up there, still in 4th place there, Tommy, enjoying a good time at the moment.
Exactly that. You know, I was actually just looking at their tires. Obviously, David Checker now on board. Currently, his last lap was on
ケース電気どうやってログインしたんだろう。
in comparison to the top 2 guys, the Honda and the Yamaha are both in the mid 54s, so they are about a second a lap faster. Randy Depunier on the Kawasaki, as you were just saying, he's on a 55.9, so David Checker's definitely pulling a bit of time back on him. Let's not forget, obviously, the fastest lap on the race at this point is the number 6 Ducati on a 53.2. I can only imagine that was in the hands of Xavi Flores earlier in the race, as we were seeing them all. I think they were in a short circuit race and not a 24-hour race. But,
Yeah, so we're drinking out again. BMW looked like it had a good start, but the Honda just nipped inside to grab the whole shot, as they say in motocross terminology. But yeah, from that side in 5th place now, the number 4 Kawasaki there, the team that's featuring Leon Haslam this weekend. Bastian Mackles, the young Belgian who deputised for them so well at Spa, where they finished 3rd overall, no, finished 2nd overall at Spa. Tati racing team. Up there number 4, and yeah, drafting in Haslam's going to help their effort for sure, isn't it? Mass experience rider.
Yeah, Leon, he kind of turned his hand to anything nowadays, can't he? You know, because he's got so much experience from World Superbikes, from British Superbikes, from World Endurance. You know, there's a reason why they draft him in to obviously have with the sort of Suzuka 8 Hour. Every Japanese manufacturer wants to win the Suzuka 8 Hour. You know, so for the factory Kawasaki team to put Leon on their bike alongside obviously Alex Lewis and Johnny Ray.
これわかんねえのこれ。
So, you know, like I say, he can turn his hand to pretty much most things, and I'm sure he'll not be fazed by the daunting. Well, we've got 21 and a half odd hours left to go.
Yes, it is. A battle on screen here. This is the battle of 6th place in the EWC class and on track as well. Florian Alt on the number 333 Biltage Racing machine, trying to fend off the Wojcik Racing team member number 77 there. That is currently shown with Mathieu Jean on the Yamaha. So the two sort of junior Yamaha squads, if you like, 2nd and 3rd Yamahas on track, way behind the leading Yacht bike, who is sort of 2nd in the class behind the Honda. But yeah, here we go then, the 2 Yamaha squad. This is live battle for 6th place. That is the gap between 6th and 7th. So yeah, nice, tasty, almost short circuit style race for you there to enjoy. And then yeah, just behind those 2 lies the Superstock leading Sapper Pompier, number 18. And then yeah, 777 Wojcik Racing Team Superstock class bike, which is there in 2nd place in the Superstocks. 3rd in the Superstocks right now is Elitch Racing, and they are 2nd in the championship to Sapper Pompier. The Pompier squad enjoying a decent lead, especially after qualifying. They got 23 points over the number 94 machine as a very beautiful sounding Ducati. You know that sound quite well, Tommy?
Just a magnificent bike. I probably shouldn't say it, but I am actually done a test for the ERC Ducati team. Yui, the team owner, such a great bloke, and they're so passionate about their racing. You know, Yui is just a passionate fan, and he's a team owner, and he puts a lot of his own money in. So to see them, you know, growing so
わかんね
you know,
え。ケース電気。
that they can get it through to the end. It's a learning curve at the end of the day for themselves and for Ducati as a factory.
はい、また戻りましたね。66番が4位。あ、55が変わって94がいいだね。あ、オイルフラッグ。オイルじゃないのか。
As there's the number 7%, the Porsche racing by then just overtaken the Bill Tires Racing, so the Yamaha swap position.
ピットイン。
2 seconds to go there, and they are both bouncing on the number 4 Kawasaki of Mackles. So it's Javi Flores who just left the pit now on that Ducati, staying in
18.7794がピットイン。
So they've got a bit of distance, a bit of power there between themselves and Mackles, but yeah, it looks like he's scrapped for 6th and 7th. He's going to be catching the 5th place Kawasaki pretty soon when they catch him.
Yeah, in the background there, I just see a lot of smoke, and I actually see.
で、心くんがまた1位に行くんやけど、これが1位じゃないんだよね。心くんというか、おじいさんが。
It's definitely under trouble, that's for sure. Yeah, it's crikey. You would have expected to see the Suzuki and the BMW both in the pits receiving major attention, major work. And yeah, as the two riders look like they aren't going to swap places.
Yeah, it's strange to see Marcus Reuterberger walking back out the garage with his gloves and his helmet. I'd imagine he was next on the boat to do his sort of second stint, but he obviously knows that it's going to be a lot more fundamental.
So this battle on track between the two Yamahas is going to continue in the pits. Sebastian Mackles has actually joined in, and then in now we go both Wojcik and the Bill Tires Racing Yamahas for their pit stops. So in they go then, they're racing on the track, and now they're racing in the pits. This is exclusive just for you people on the live stream, so thank you for joining us there on Discovery Plus. Terrestrial TV is currently, terrestrial digital Sky TV, Eurosport 2 is now on the ad break, but here we go, this is the swapping of the Yamaha teams racing each other in the pits there. Does that make things a bit more frantic, Tommy?
Yeah,
This sort of thing?
to be honest, if you notice it, don't change the front wheel. That is because changing, and as we see Dan Linfield going out there, they don't change the front tyre there because they
Ah, pit laneか。
time changing the front wheel.
結局あれか、まだ5位ってことか。
Just it's simple as no different to the superbikes really. Spindle out, wheel out, bubba, back in, chain on, off you go, and then fuel. Whereas on a super stock bike, you have to take both calibers. Oh, it's actually the TSR MCC Honda. Is that smoking? Yeah. Oh, it's a Honda smoking.
Oh, that's really bad news, because that meatball flag basically means mechanical exclusion. So is this going to be the third of the big teams to hit big trouble in this race?
そういうことだよね。
Was talk of all these races, the Gold Door, especially in Paul Ricard circuit with that massive discharge straight along the back end of the circuit there. That it's going to come big leg in, Alan Tesha. And yeah, Tesha's showing that he's going to pull in. Let's hope he's not spinning anything on the track. Can you see anything there, Tommy?
Yeah, it's definitely smoking.
ケーズ電気どうしたらいいのこれ。店で登録してもらえなのか。
Like the engine's going to stop. It looks like
これケーズ電気のオンラインに入ったらいいんだよね。
it shouldn't be too much of a big mechanical sort of job to get
か
it.
パスワードケーズ電気。
Nothing obvious there, like really bad. I suspect they'll drag the fairings off, see maybe an oil pipe or just something like that.
ケーズ電気は登録されてないの？
Yeah, we just had some news through from some trackside reporters there saying yes, that it was that the number 5, the meatball flag was for that number 5 machine. So So yeah, now we have a third of the big teams now working their way around the vehicle in the pit box, and out comes the BMW. So whatever is afflicting them, as Mark Schweitzenberger takes over now, he just checks to make sure that there's still
So she.
make sure there isn't anything coming out of the machine still. But
Ah,
yeah, so there we go. Now the Yamaha then is looking in a prime position to obviously take the lead now with the Honda in the pit box. In third place is still is the number 11
So she.
SRC Kawasaki, and that well could be a leap up from them. They were about 10 seconds back of
Ah,
the Yacht
わかっ
machine,
た。
and then a further 16 seconds behind the Honda. So yeah, that's certainly going to change. There they go. So yeah, V-Bike now up in the second place. Ducati will be looking to overtake them as well and move up to a podium position.
Yeah, it kind of just goes back to like we were saying then, the number 7 bike, you know, didn't get a great start. It just goes to show that in 24-hour racing, anything can happen. And now here they are, sat in the lead of the race, you know, 2.5 hours in. You know, for them it's just keeping their nose clean, keeping out of trouble, not overstressing the bike. Anyone can come down the back straight, flat out on the limiter. You know, for me it would be about
よし。
getting a
OK。ケース電気。
to just be
もうめんどくせえな。
safe with the engine. These
め
bikes,
んどくせえんだよ。
everything's going to go is going to be the engine.
これこっち入ってないけど大丈夫。
You cannot imagine for 24 hours that poor motorbike. I have so much sympathy with it, you know. I used to mechanic my own bike back in superbikes. I used to build my own engines. In 2012 when I was with BMW, I used to do my own engines, and I know how much stress these things are. So
上心。上心は確かね、めんどくさかったんだけど。
And you say there's an issue with the Michelin today as well.
Yeah.
The wind, you get the tailwind chasing along, and that just works the engine even worse. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly that. Even down to the point, you know, at the start of the race when we saw the first 4
あ、登録されてる。
all sat in the
す
slipstream,
ごい。
the motorbike at the front is flat out, but it's
今まで
getting
電気持ってるでしょ。
by the other bikes basically getting slipstream.
ユニ
The
ク
other
ロ入れ
bikes
た
getting slipstream, they're revving harder and going faster than they would on their own. So it's even harder for the bike that's getting slowed down, that's doing the drafting as well. So you know, it's just trying to be a bit clever. You know, 24-hour racing is being about clever.
Absolutely, and here is Randy Fournier on screen here with the WeBike SRC Kawasaki
コメ
squad.
リ。
And yeah, Randy has been guilty of a few mishaps this year, had a few problems there, crashing the machine.
コメリも OK。OK？ え、どういうこと
2.5 hours in as we approach that sort of marker here. WeBike SRC squad looking to really enjoy a good top position. Obviously, they are involved in the sponsorship of the series as well, as are Dunlop with their sponsorship of the Superstock class. So certainly, WeBike will be very happy to see the green machine right up towards the sharp end. 28 seconds down at the moment on the yacht Yamaha.
River home.
Ducati now moved up into third place. The number 4
Do we
Kawasaki Taxi Team Manager has moved up to fourth place. So everybody demoting the FTC Honda TSR squad. The BMW has returned back on circuit from its problems there. I'm not quite sure again what has happened there. We'll hopefully find out.
ああ、もうわ
Team members.
けわからんよ。
So rejoined quite a way down the order. Just trying to find things on our screens here. Yes, there we are. Down in 38th position right now is Marcus Schweitzenberger. That's on track. And yeah, so we'll see what happens here. Sorry, you spotted something? Oh yeah, the old Boldor. So yeah, Boldor takes today French 24-hour endurance track cycling competition. highest pedal and winner of the Boldor was the one of Bronze Bowl. So there we go. Donated by the Shop of Media.
Yeah, I thought I'd let you do the reading. That's definitely not my forte. I just race motorbikes and go around in circles. So I'll leave the reading part up to you. And any technical questions about motorbikes, I can help definitely. But yeah, when it gets to the
ユーザー ID が全然違うの。
Yes, the old Boldor, the bowl of gold, as I think it literally translates to. So, yeah, certainly, Buddy very happy to get his hands on that golden bowl at the end. And yeah, we can see that there's great scrapping here for fifth place. Literally, the Boychik boys and the Viltires racing team are back and forth for fifth and sixth on track. And the Honda is still in the pits. They've got quite a ways to go before they are caught by the 9th in class team.
And a bit of a shout out to the number 6 Ducati, obviously. Xavi Flores just set the fastest lap of the race again so far of a 52.9. Let's say Canepa on the Yamaha of 53.3. And then the number 11 Kawasaki on Depunier is on 53.9. So Xavi is definitely got a good feeling with that Ducati, and he's certainly got some good pace. They're running the Pirelli tyres as well, which in my opinion will be stronger as the race goes on later in the night. Pirelli seems to work better in the cooler temperatures, you know, your Super 8 hours. In all honesty, unless you're running the factory Bridgestones, then you've got no chance. So it's when you come back to Europe and you've got the Le Mans or let's say all of the tyres are fairly near them, so there's not such an advantage having a Bridgestone over a Pirelli or anything. And obviously, as we can see on track, you can see Xavi. He looks really good on it. He looks comfortable, to be honest. Obviously, I've raced with Xavi the past couple of years in the British Superbike Championship. Obviously, the first year he was on the Honda, and then the second year he was with the BMW. He never looked comfortable on the BMW, to be honest. On Honda, we had a really good scrap with Donington between himself, myself, him, and Scott Redding. It was a fair old ding-dong. But yeah, Xavi, he's got natural speed, really strong on the motorbike. So it's good to see him now that he's sort of settling into the more endurance, and he's certainly found a good team in the ERC Ducati squad for sure. As we see a friend of mine, Dan Linford, on the 77 Yamaha. This is for the Superstock, as I was saying earlier on. But yeah, Dan's had a bit of an
英語のすでにいびつのユーザー ID で登録されています。
Superstock race. Did you see it, Ben?
I didn't know.
どうしたらいいの？
Motocross commentary, but yeah, I didn't quite see that one, but he had a good scrap, yeah.
I shouldn't say that. He was actually leading the race. I feel so sorry for that. He was leading the race in. Chrissy Rouse lost the front around the last corner from a bit of debris on my side. It wasn't his fault, to be fair. But, the bike slid across the
だからそれ入らなあかんだよね。
wiped that out. He was lucky to not be injured, definitely. So it's good to see him back here for the 24 hours. Yes, back on his feet.
Absolutely, yeah, that's scrap 4th and 5th, that is, yeah, Dan Linford on the number 77 Voiture bike, scrapping out with the Viltaz Racing Yamaha right now, so the pair of those are fighting in 4th and 5th, that's Dan Linford and Erwin Ligon. Also out on track, another Brit rider, Leon Haslam, is up there in 6th now, the number 4 Kawasaki, and the Honda re-emerges. The Yacht comes out of the pit box there with Marvin Fritz in the controls. And yeah, getting himself set up with that monumentally long pit lane exit. Looks very slow, like painful slow motion.
Yeah, painfully slow. Like we seen earlier, it almost makes you want to just quickly take the speed limiter off and just, even if you could nick out for a second, I know you shouldn't, you wouldn't, but
you get it all taken off you again.
Exactly. It makes you, as we see here, like, you know, you just sat at 60 kilometers an hour, and it's just, you see your main competitor or main rival come howling past you, and you think, well, sorry, I'm
これでいいのか？
just played dumb. I was always told, play dumb and innocent until proven
変
guilty.
更して。
That's it, exactly that.
そしたらログインしたい。
Prove it. Yes, that goes Mike DeMelio now in control of the FCC Honda TSR machine. That is currently, it's intentionally going slow right now. It certainly will. I'm sure he will feel better when he can get back up to racing speed, and the bike allows him to do so. And there he goes. So they are 18th on track.
なんで？
That is around about 9th or 10th in class. So the championship not over yet. Of course, there goes the smoke at the end, and can you tell what that might be there,
Yeah.
Mr. Mechanical Man?
Wow, just to be honest, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd probably say the opposite thing now. But like I said, it didn't look anything fundamental for them to be able to get the bike back out as quick as they have. I like I said, it
置いていってた。
was oil on the exhaust that then smokes.
はい、ビバホーム
worse
OK
than it is. Normally, when it's completely fundamentally engine expired, there's no say there. You know, as we see with the
ああもうめんどくせえな。本当にこういけてるやつはいけへんのがよくわからんな。
So yeah, that Honda re-emerges in 12th place in the EWC class. Still the battle raging on here. The two Yamahas, almost identical looking bikes there. It's the 333 that's out in front now, and the sorry, my mistake there. The 333 yellow rider Urban Nigon is out there on the machine at the moment with the yellow banding. His Japanese flag crash on the out there. I thought it was somebody else, but he's definitely not Japanese. He's French, and he's out there currently still battling with Dan Linford, which is the other Yamaha there, the number 77 Boychik Racing Team, Polish team effort with Linford, also running Sheridan Moraes, and the French from Matthew Jean, and it would be Sheridan to Moraes, so I keep mispronouncing that one. Moraes will be out in that one next, but certainly in the meantime, they've got a lot of scrapping going on.
便利やね。
But like I said earlier, for the Superstock guys, showing a really good showing. You know, you've got Batman on
Still
still
doing
doing a 154.7. You know, that is that's no mean feat for sure. So
Yeah, they are in the EWC class though.
oh, are they? Sorry, right,
Yeah,
okay.
it's weird because they got the 777 as a super stock Boychik bike. So Boychik have got within their prices. So
No fault there.
エクスペリアも設定しなかった。アルペン、セブンイレブン。
So yeah, we've got team down south here on the commentary after team up north have been there earlier, and yeah, we'll have Tom Gaymore and Chrissy Rouse taking over in just over an hour and a half's time, just under an hour and a half's time. In comes the WeBike SRC squad then, in from the lead of the race, of course. They are taking their pit stop just after the Yamaha, so we should see the yacht machine, which was only a few seconds back. Shouldn't make his way back. That's a nice quick stop there, then, Tommy.
Yeah, very efficient. But again, you know, this team's been doing board endurance for a long time now. They would be practicing and practicing and practicing.
Lawson.
Can we see at the end of the back in the pits
Oh,
again?
they really are, yeah. So they've gone out and
始める。
Schweitzenberger on the bike that was nervously looking around at the back wheel. Wanted to get the cameraman out of the way. Lots of shaking heads. Not a lot of action going on there.
No, exactly that. It looks like they're obviously looking through the data.
ローソンの ID がわからない。
What they're doing looks
That was the Simon Velcro glove coming off.
fairing to coming back off the bike now. So obviously it is a little bit fundamental as we most expected earlier in the race. I thought it was strange because Marcus Rottenberger went out earlier and he looked like he was tiptoeing around almost as soon as he rolled
ローソンがわかんないよ。
there was still something wrong. And as we see here now, they're still obviously struggling to perhaps get the bike right or get it sort of
これローソンは
hit 100%.
Well, what a roller coaster for that team because they had a good qualification with Le Mans there earlier on, getting fourth.
お財布がいるんだよね。
The opening round of the season, but then they also broke down in the first half of the race. So BMW didn't last there, and then they came back to win at Spa, which was a fantastic win, even with the mixed conditions. They had it won before it was even stopped back in Spa Francorchamps, but then the machine also broke down in Suzuka. So I'm sure they were hoping that their pole position for this event, the Boldor, would have been a sign that fortunes were swinging back around. They were even still talking about the points, like they still had some championship points, which was sort of mathematically the case. But yeah, it's now disappearing from them completely, isn't it?
Yes, exactly that. You know, it is a shame to be honest because these sort of endurance races are
Google ドライブのあれに入ってないか
just
な。
draining for everyone involved. The effort that goes
ローソン。
to get the teams there.
あー、なるほどね。
This is hard work. So as we see on track now or on screen, you can see Dan Linford just ahead of Liam Alston.
We've got an interview down in the pits at the moment. Just see what we've got.
You are actually seven. You do the job for the moment. Many things happen with the other team. So how you manage it?
I try to do my best. The track condition is not really
で、これで
So to compare the practice, the bike is heavy. In some corner, I struggle a lot. So the rear feeling with the tire is not really good because I can't use the same line and the same feed than the practice. So we destroy the tire. So for the moment, it's not perfect, but we try to keep the good pace, not the excellent pace, and we will see what's happened when the wind drops down.
Okay, thank you. Chill.
来ないんだよね、ここに。
Yeah, okay, so feeling optimistic about his hopes, although he never really quite looks optimistic, does he, Randy, there? And there is a lot of smoke at the back of that. I'm not quite sure if that's coming from the hot dog van at the back of the circuit or something like that. All free to get it cooked at the back end there. We're just still seeing these two Yamahas going at it. Urban Negon and Dan Nimfa having a nice little scrap here as they start to approach. In fact, they really has the wire box them.
Ah, chica.
As it goes on the inside, Nimfa, the two Brits battle together. Wow, look at this scrap here. Three-way battle for fourth place after over 2.5 hours of racing. This is wonderful stuff to see. And yeah, they are a good distance behind still from third place rider, or are they? Well, the third place rider 4.5 seconds back. No, they're not quite on the same lap as Etienne Massel on the number 11 bike Kawasaki. But what a great scrap in fourth place. Again, there wants to be some thought about the tyre, about the engine conservation. They say catching slipstreams down the back end is not healthy for the machine at all. It looks like, sorry to cut you off, I think as you're about to speak there, but also Hugo Claire and Kevin Manfredi, the leading pair in the Superstocks, they're just ahead of this battle and they're right with each other as well. So as well as battling each other, they're right amongst the leading Superstockers who will just be that little bit slower. It's a hectic old section of the race here going on.
Yes, exactly that. You know, Dan Linford's got the carrot ahead of him with his sort of fellow Brit, should we say, in Leon Aslan. So they're going to be going for glory for definite. But yeah, they're going to, like you said, they're going to be coming upon the Superstock guys fairly soon, who's obviously having their battle themselves. So we saw his Joy Suzuka. I started the race one year and it was the hardest 50 minutes of racing I think I've nearly almost ever done. It was absolutely, you know,
これも使えない。
100%. But I used to really enjoy when you used to catch your back markers. For some reason, it would take your almost the mind-numbing task of being in play out of 8 hours or 24 hours of this. You'd almost be able to go around the outside of them, inside them, down the straight in, and just good fun. If you ever speak to a racer, our job is to overtake people ideally and get to the flag first. So it was, yeah, I used to really enjoy that.
上書き処理します。給油端末かポンタ情報を削除してください。
Passing Negon down the straight. So that is the Kawasaki Tati Team Devonshire racing bike there in fourth now.
Yeah, and obviously Dan's
Okay.
So just as we've had an interview there, we've got the team manager of BMW, I believe, coming up in a few seconds' time. So we'll see what they've got to say about their torrent situation right now.
Thanks, moments for the team. We've seen the bike for the pits for the second time now. Just tell us what's happening.
We haven't taken an issue, but you know, we're just bad.
めんどくさいな。
We had some problems on the engine. Now we make the engine out too much because we want to continue the race and end the race. So I hope we can repair this problem and come to it.
What feedback have the riders been giving you so far at this early
も
stage?
う全部消せ。
Very good. I think we are almost on leading the race.
まだね、芯も切り替えられないんだよね。
Thank you.
ローソン。
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, team manager of the BMW squad there. Looking forlornly on as everything tries to get
あれ、両方いけんの？
attached, reattached, detached, and repaired, replaced.
Yeah, almost just kind of confirming, as I said, when we were on with the onboard, we could just terribly drop on three cylinder, and then right at the went back out, and I thought, oh bloody hell, I've got that wrong already, and I'm only half hour into the first interview stint. I thought, oh Christ, but
Yeah, man, you're the expert.
yeah,
Interesting.
これローソンのアプリ何なのこれ？
exactly. I don't like saying it, but I'm glad I'm right. I feel sorry for the BMW team. You know, it's like we were saying earlier, they put so much effort. Yeah.
ログインする。
It's never ideal to go out 2.5 hours. I don't know what would be worse. Would you rather go out 2.5 hours into the race or 2.5 hours from the end? Because
あ、旧バージョンがこれ消さなあかんな。
almost, haven't you? So
やっぱり。
it's a tough one, really. It is a tough one.
It's
I'll
all
And it's still-
let you think on that one.
Yeah. Having done motocross races and having done the Western Beach race was about the longest race I did in 3 hours of it. And yeah, I had a breakdown after an hour when the bike failed, and I was only I was on the same lap as the leader, which is
めんどくさいね。
So yeah, I think I'd rather go towards the end. At least I've put a good stitch in there.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've got something to brag about then, haven't you? I guess.
ヤフーアプリで。
So here we are. We have got good scrapping going on here. We've seen, of course, the tactic team Belgium by Haslam going through up into fourth place now, past these two scrapping Yamahas. They are still together scrapping. They've now caught what is actually the lead battle here. So we're seeing it live on the screen. The two Voyage bikes, the EWC number 77 and their Superstar 777, they're right together on track. So this means that the 4th, 5th and 6th Superbikes, EWC machines, have put another lap over. I think that's the first time they are lapping the lead Superstockers here. So that's what's happening. And yeah, you can see less than a second between the Wojcik Stocker bike and the Sapper Pompier Championship leading Yamaha is there in second. Look at this. Fantastic passion to see there.
Let's see if he's
That's the Wojcik boys.
still doing that at 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 in the morning. But I was just watching the lap times there. It's interesting to see now, obviously, what Dan can do. He's got, like we said earlier, the carrot ahead of him. He's got Leon in front of him. So Leon, previous lap was at 54.7 and Dan was at 55.0. But as you said, they've actually got 53 laps in, which is the super stocks.
同説
So let's see if Dan's gonna dig in to pull Leon back, or if he's gonna just ride his own race. Sometimes that carrot in front of you, you just can't help yourself. But also, like we kept saying, 24-hour race. The worst thing you can go and do now is
確認コード来ない。
make a mistake.
Yeah, and I think, just to slightly correct you there, Tommy, I think it's a small screen. It's 84 rather than 54. So yeah, the 5 and the 8 screen. So it's a very digital screen.
That's yeah.
That's okay.
That's my eyesight.
It's all good. So yeah, there we go. So that is now, looks like that's Nigon on the Viltes bike has moved his way past Manfredi, the leading super stocker, and yeah, they're actually putting away from the Sapper Pompier bike. So yeah, the red Yamaha, of course, on that squad there, the firefighter bandit.
かざしホルダーみたいな。
They are currently second there, and just behind those guys is number 33 Louis Ample motor machine. Christian Gamarino is riding that bike, and he is now caught the leading pair as well. So Gamarino knocking on the door of Kevin Manfredi in a battle of the Italians. And Manfredi, sorry, Manfredi.
ヤフー入れへんやん。 ヤフー入れねえ。
That's about second and third in the superstock class. But the main championship challenger for the Sapper Pompier, number 94, they are actually further down here in that grouping. So they're currently in 9th place in the superstock class.
Yeah, very good showing. Like we
シ
said,
ョートメール来てないやん。
how strong a superstock bike is still in comparison to a superbike. Can't forget
確認コード送信。
superstock bikes are designed with better electronics.
来ない。
The more endurance rules, I believe you can still run, let's say the factory electronics. So the Hondas, for example, we can see how strong the superstock Honda is in the British superstock. So yeah,
来たらさ、こっち来るんだよね。
they're not that far behind. It would just be suspension, brakes, bits and pieces that in all honesty, just add up over a lap to a second and a half, 2 seconds, maybe, sometimes not even that much. And it's mad when you think
ああ、もう腹立つこれ。
to build one of
何がしみじみ習慣だよ。
let's say that
Can't
Ducati,
you?
for example, you're talking about 120 grand I spec, you're talking proper.
あ、来てるわ。
In a superstock
え、なんでこれが表示されへん
It's
の？
a lot less than that. But when you see the figures, the difference between the figures, and you say, well, one's 120 grand, and a super stocker's, let's say, for example, I don't know, 50 grand. 2 seconds, it doesn't seem right, really, does it? You'd almost, for another
に
sort of 60, 70 grand more, you'd almost want to be at least 5 to 10 seconds a lap fast, or I would be anyway.
Yeah, he took a bang for your buck, and yeah, how many dollars per tenth of a second?
よし、T ポイント入った。
The eternal equation of racing, whether it's 2 wheels or 4, of course. Yeah, those 2 seconds, well, a machine can go an awful long distance in that, especially when they are travelling down this Mistral straight as the 2 super stockers. This is about the second, and through goes the Kawasaki Team Louis Apple motor machine. That is Christian Gabarino making a pass on the Hugo Claire. So we've currently got Italian riders on both the leading 2 super stock machines, and that is a slight dent into the efforts of Sapper Pompier. Behind them on track, that's another super stock machine. Just didn't quite catch the number, but yeah, they're not on the same lap as these 3. So yeah, the Wojcik stock bike is overtaken now, and looks like no, that's Claire actually getting some hassle from the bike that's behind. That's the number 43, and that's a green number plate. So that's our experimental class. In both Le Mans and in Spa, we only had 1 experimental machine across the entire field there. But at this one, we went across all the
紙ペイ行った。
the Matiz bike number 45, which kind of looks like MV chassis. Although obviously designed with steering hub, center hub steering technology. I know speaking to Joe about this at Spa, he was not a massive fan of that.
リクルート ID どれだよ。
Have you ever ridden one of those bikes?
No, I haven't, to be honest. Sometimes they come out with some wild engineering.
Okay.
Sometimes it's easier just to leave technology alone. Try not to overcomplicate things, but it's yeah.
リクルートポンタ。これの
So yeah, the Matiz bike number 45 there. Number 43 on the screen there is Team FMR 34 Lycée Pierre. Meant in France is actually a Yamaha YZF-R1 frame, and we've also got a Cap Endurance Ducati Panigale V4R. Again, we'll have to look into that and see exactly what is experimental. But they've got 3 riders in that class and a little bit of
また確認コードや。
Yeah.
今度は G メールか。
on the screen now. There's the team at Louis Apple Moto machine, and there is your virtual world championship now. How they are working this out is they are basically adding their positions as if they finished there after 8 hours, as if they finished there after 16 hours, and if they finished there at the very end of the machine. So whilst it says Virtual World Cup, there's no way it's going to stay like that for the entirety of this race. So it's just a rough understanding. The real crisis point will come after the 16-hour mark, when all of those top 10 scores have been scored, and then we will really see who is going to take this championship away from this event and from the end of this season. But yeah, for the moment, it is massively hypothetical. Those scores are based on the holding station for another.
何やこれよくわからん。
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, it's the correct way of doing it, really. You know, because you could do 20.
ローソン1万ポイントかな。
Have a mechanical and then you get nothing for it. So
Yeah.
プーカーもう使われへんやろ。
It's good how you kind of do get something if the worst happens. 17 hours in, you've still got a bit of a boots hole, and it can add up for a championship at the end. So
Yeah, I think we're just seeing on screen there a replay difference of a super stock and a super bike down the main straight there, I believe.
that's it. Yeah, these.
あ、いいけどさ、こう持てんの。
Look at me, look at me.
何終わってんねや。
Yeah, that's where it comes in.
Well, Vitapismo, Victor. I'm not quite sure who Victor is, but obviously he needs to have a happy recovery. I think that's the notice there. My rough
クーカーあるな。
just figuring out what that said, but yeah, I think somebody's being wished a happy recovery. So whoever you are, Victor, get well soon, and yeah, hope things are good. Do you know who
This is where we work out it was only his birthday.
うわー、これは大変だよ。 うわー、わかんないよこれ。
So the number 5 machine, well, you can tell that it's not great because I've got to scroll right down the screens to see them. We know that number 1 is at the bottom, of course, because that's still in the pits getting a complete rebuild. But yeah, the number 5 Honda France machine. There they are, 25th on track. And yeah, if you want a bit of talking there, I'll count the EWC bikes ahead of them. But yeah, so 25th on track.
これなんで出てこうへん
A
の
whole bunch of super stock bikes ahead of them. In fact, 5 of them before they could catch the next EWC bike for the next bit of points game, which is the number 14 Mako Racing Team bike. Currently with replacement rider Balit Kovac from Hungary, has just taken that ride on short notice from Camille Pedlin, who got removed there. That's one of the brightest pit boxes on the out of there. Number 33, yellow blind, just to sort you out in the morning.
Yeah, you're definitely going to spot that for sure. So just looking on the screen in between Mark Fritz and Alex Torres, there's 23 seconds after 89 laps. And to be honest, the lap times are fairly similar. 54.3 for the Yamaha and a 54.5 on the last lap for Alex Torres. So it's going to, take some good pit stops or perhaps a mistake for Yamaha as we sit here now for the Ducati to drag that back. But
G.
this is all talking 21 hours down the line.
Absolutely.
So, as we keep saying, anything can happen.
Well, yeah, the Honda bike has now recovered back to 10th amongst the EWC teams. Now that would only get them 16.5 points plus the extra 1 point at the end of the 8 and 16 hours. So
That's all there was
they need
there.
24 to catch up to Cert. And obviously, if Cert still finish, then that's going to gain them 7.5 points. So all truth be told, lots of calculations to happen. But the long story short is that the Honda TSR machine still needs to recover many positions before it can start to consider itself back into prime contention to grab this championship from the troubled Yoshimura Suzuki squad. But it is the number 7 yard team that is really in a pole position right now as it stands. It's the only knife up there in second place, almost getting a nosebleed that high up in the standings. They've not been there all season long. There we are, Pocket Rocket, the familiar style there of Leon Haslam. First memory of Leon Haslam is actually the motocross circuit. Mallory Park, they had a motocross track alongside the main road racing circuit there, and I was on the 125. It was a horrible muddy day, the kind of one where you need these lights to suit you. We had that much mist and darkness, and it was a horrible day. I was plugging around in the mud on my 125s, and down in the 60cc class on a little KX60 was, I think, a 7 or 8 year old Leon Haslam, absolutely flying. Rocket bomb on the side of the track, and he got a massive big lead, stretching his arms wide, and there was little Leon giving it nothing with the flat out, weight right over the back mud guard, all the mud flying out behind him. It was wonderful to see, and I'm thinking it every time I see it.
Sounds about right for him. I was chatting to Tommy Cyril from the motocross game, obviously. Follow a bit of the motocross background.
ポイントないんちゃうの
Yeah, funny enough, his K-Tech technician, K-Tech there,
ポイントないのに必死こいて再設定した
is actually my technician at who we have in
Cool.
the right. So he's obviously done a great job for Tommy Cyril, as well as a great job for Sarafin, British Superbikes. But I was chatting to Tommy, and he was saying about Leon, he'd go out and do a bit of motocross, and I said, what's Leon like on a motocross bike? And he said, well, nothing fear, he's got no fear of anything. There'll be a massive jump that even Tommy would think, that's going to be tough to do, and then they'll be sat there, and then all they hear is this 250 Kawasaki flat out, absolutely straight at it, nearly snaps the bike in half almost, comes up short, over the handlebars or sort of thing. It sounds, there's a bit of pride in the road race community where we're all
6.6 やね
compared to motocrossers. I like to think I'm actually quite good on one. So does Josh Brooks. He likes to think he's good on one. We actually do a fair bit of riding, fair bit of motocross together. So it's never ideal because we race British Superbikes against each other, and then all of a sudden we're in motocross just for fitness, just to tell ourselves. And I'm absolutely, giving everything, thinking, okay, there's nothing left. I need to say that, it's never a good mix when you get group road races out on the motocross bike.
Yes, the pride takes it out, and that's why it's good training. That's why it's good training. You push it just like you're at a DSP race, absolutely.
Yeah, can't do your arms and the line.
Right, 49ね
For the front wheel. It's brilliant fun.
That's what it's all about, and yeah, so this is the battle second, as it says on screen there. Christian Gammarino, Hugo Claire, scrap out, so that means the Saturday Premier bike. So it looks like it's caught back up to the Louis Apple motor machine, so maybe the tyres going off slightly the way that Gammarino was pushing that up in front of the bike, and they must be getting close to their pit stop now, so we'll see how that affects us.
なんだっけ、どこまで行った？イオンは入ったよな。東宝シネマ。
So easy to lose a second a lap sometimes, you know, so you can't really read too much into that in all honesty, but yeah, you think they'd be hitting any time soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see on screen there, number 66, I think that is. No, it's 41, sorry, my mistake. I just wanted to see if it looked like the Sapo Bombier might have been caught there, but on screen we zoom in on the number 11 Reebok SRC Kawasaki rider. They are currently running in third place with Etienne Masson on board. Xavi Forres on the Ducati, they are only just 22 seconds back from the leading team, the Yamaha, so that's pretty incredible for the ERC Ducati. 3 hours in, so yeah, certainly not quite, although obviously nowhere near locked in yet, but we are ticking down. 3 hours gone right now, so 3 hours gone, 21 minutes left, 1/8 of this race is over, and 7/8 left to go, so yeah, Forres, Masson in third, and then the other Kawasaki Behringer machine, number 4, the Yamaha on board in 4th place. Linfoot and Nigon now got a few seconds between them, so Linfoot's put about 5 seconds over Nigon in the back of the second string Yamahas, and then after a few superstock bikes, the number 96, Claudio Corti on the Team Moto A Yamaha, so another Yamaha packing up places there, 11th on track, but they are running in 7th in the EWC class, ahead of another Kawasaki number 18 Team Bolliger bike, that's with Jan Boom, the German, currently on board. So that's a rough rundown of the leaders at the moment in the EWC. And yeah, there's the virtual championship once more. Let's reiterate that is 60 points for the win. That's what you get when you cross the line after 24 hours if you're first. But that is also taking into account leading after 8 hours and leading after 16 hours when you get 10 points for first if you are in front when the clock ticks over like that. So yeah, very hypothetical. We'll work all that out as we get further through this race. I'm just going to keep us away for calculations in the graveyard shift we've got later.
2 a.m. to 5 a.m. It's plenty of Pro Plus or energy drinks, we'll say, and we'll do our best to get through it.
公式シネマイレージ会員の方のみ。そうなんや。無理な。
You told me already that I have an account. Which is getting used.
あ、ないのか。
Ben underscore run ball, but I'll figure out how to use it. I'll figure out how to use it, and we'll do that for the second stint.
So yeah, if you get any questions, then definitely tweet in, and I'll do my best to answer.
So here we go. We're just going to get a quick
でもこれはどういうこと？
quick rundown of the highlights so far at the 85th running of the Boldore. Across the round then, across the start straight, the Yamaha once again struggling to fire up, but the BMW, the Suzuki and the Honda fired down the starting straight, and the Yamaha left itself to laugh later, which they are, because they're in front right now. They're on the scrapping there. We did see one rider, I think it was the number 98 experimental Ducati, exiting stage right at the first corner, and then the front four, look at them, absolutely all together, like that short circuit race there. Xavi Forres using the draft there and the Ducati power to head down the Mistral straight in front, and now we start to see some Suzuki Watanabe on the Suzuki, that's him with the white yellow armbands there, just having a scrap with BMW. Number 37 machine, of course, and the number 5 Honda right in the mix. And there it was for Watanabe at the end of the Mistral. The Suzuki making a lunchbox out of his gearbox and having a real issue.
会員ページ。あ、未登録や。TC メールだけやん。
See that that's been a long, long time in the pits now. They were in on lap 34. The leaders have currently done 94 laps, so a vast majority, almost 2/3 of the race now in the pits. Then it was the BMW going from an inline four to an inline triple. Problems here, you can see that as he tipped off the track, obviously looking down, looking around, not concentrating and hit.
ああ、これダメなんだね。
You hit the wall there, Tommy. Heading down, and that made it no fun because you had to push from there. Bonelli had had enough of pushing that bike from the lead up to the 130R at Suzuka, the previous round.
Yeah.
So BMW, that'll be 3 out of 4 races they have mechanical issues, and they won the other one. So BMW fast if it stays on.
Yeah, definitely. That's like just a drink. But yeah, no, it's definitely fast. But,
and then it was the Honda's turn. Sorry, yeah, the Honda's turn had the problem. Big ball flag came out for the 5 Honda, dropping some smoke, but not fluid onto the track.
もう大変やね。なんだかんだ言ってさ、いっぱいざっとこう移行してくれたよね。さあ、でどうなってるか。ハイライト、ハイライトか。ダメじゃん。
20 seconds ahead of the Ducati with the bike SRC Kawasaki currently lying third. And there is your overall classifications. Yamaha, Ducati, Kawasaki France, and then further the Tati Kawasaki to Camelot, I'll have a go, yeah. And then snacks in the commentary box. Sapper Pompier and OG Motorsport going well on the 66 bike. As you can see there, the rundown behind my favourite team name, RAC 41 Chrome Burner, is running 14th on track. Macca Racing,
トネさんが26。
in this bike, but they have just lost ground there, so that's 9th EWC bike now for the FCC
32。ちょっと落ちちゃったね。
still circulating. Chris Platt, Jonathan Relton, and Martin Trudeau. As we hear some hammering going on, I think that's trying to hammer the Suzuki engine back into place. Really struggling there. So yeah, we'll see how they work out. And again, those experimental bikes having their own little battle this time. And there we are, 61 laps down for the Yoshimura Mobile Suzuki. Championship leaders in trouble here at the Boldor. There we go, Marvin Fritz out in front now. Could this be a championship steam?
好き勝手な注文歴って出るの？
Like you say, commentator's curse. I think Joe said he class himself as a commentator, so he can say it, and it's not a class as a commentator's curse. It's only if Jack or I'll try to commentate, and maybe I'll put a curse on them to make this race more nicer.
I'll stick to part-time commentary and full-time bike racing, so sort of a bit of a mix of all really. Not directly track driving about racing motorbikes or now sat in the commentary once do the Boulder 24 hours. But yeah, what great fun it is.
So there we go then, out in front still is the Yamaha. Just under 20 seconds now, so the Ducati having a good run here, the Xavier is on board. Despite it tries to chase the German on the Yamaha, here is Fritz as he comes in, that familiar bright green sort of face to that crash helmet, and then Austria Racing Team, in case you're wondering what the acronyms are there, and of course Circus Suzuki Endurance Racing Team.
おじさん3位。
Will shoot yourself and Gloucestershire myself. We're really struggling not to learn and circle real deep accent, but we're doing our best, I think. We're doing our best.
3位だね。
Proper Londoners now, we're talking to Linda as we see Ducati. Xavi Flores has done a mega stint now. Charles Davies going back out. Is this his second or third?
Yes, it is the second, third. Yes, yes, the second stint it would be. Yeah.
I'll have to message Charles after the stint, see how he's finding the endurance racing. You know, it's such a different thing. You know, he's been toe to toe in World Superbikes with Johnny.
吉野家は3位なしか。
Superbike racing, and to see him now on the endurance bike is good. It's mad really, because a lot of the time you've got 3 riders obviously in back across the board, you can include reserve like that.
Yeah.
It's very hard for all 3 riders to be 100% happy with
か。
so on. So I think when you see Chaz coming out of the pits, they're almost just adjusting the seat. Might be that they've got, let's say, a Valpro seat pad that they can, you know, move back, put an extra, you know, left on the back that gets him up higher. He's obviously fairly long-legged, and so just little bits to make, you know, make the sort of 45 minutes sort of stint. What are, I think they're about 41 minutes since the Ducati earlier in the race. I think they're about 41 minutes in before they have to do a pit stop for
なんだよそれ。
It'd be interesting to see what their fuel consumption is. It can be a big factor, obviously, in endurance racing. You know, you've got to think when you get to the end of the race, you might be losing,
Oh, yeah.
losing a lap, which will obviously equivalent to nearly 2 minutes.
ヤフー入れなくなって。
That's why a lot of the time they sort of work hard on
ここ。
that.
Su-
Down here, super stop rider.
So yeah, they're down on track there. Number 55, National Motors Honda. That's the main Honda effort in the super stock class, and they were in a decent position. I think number 55. Yeah, they're started to tumble down the order now. No, they've had some issues, so they were already quite a way back. That's Valentin Suchet, and with his elder brother Sebastian, also in that team. He's just doing up in front of his others there. Yeah, you don't want to be doing a Fabio Quartararo going on track there.
Exactly, he's been watching too much Grand Prix racing, I think. But I think, to be honest, it just looked a fairly
なんか調べてなんかもらったね。
Here we are now, seeing on screen. Oh, there I am, the complete opposite.
The opposite of what he said, a fairly slow crash. He's had a big high side, so
お、位置でとそう転倒してる。
Definite.
あ、俺登録されてるわ。まず
So yeah, I mean, you said that
ジョイフラモードだろうな。
how different is it to your VSB bike? Would you say that kind of spin on the edge of the spot a little bit?
It's it's fairly different. You know, they factory electronics in believe it or not, the factory electronics on the superbikes that you would see on Bautista's bike or Rinaldi's bike or even this World Endurance bike is actually more advanced to what they can actually use in Grand Prix. So that was the biggest thing. You know, you on that bike, I've tested it in the mod before, and they asked if I could see what I thought.
アプリ会員。
I was amazed how good it was. You know, you could get to a hairpin, and you could go from 0 to 100% throttle straight away with no issues whatsoever. So good setup. You know, really good setup. In the bike was good fun to ride. Back then on Michelin to
There we are, just running the promotion there, PTO Tour, showing up from Dallas there, the US Open Women's Tour. That comes through 18:45 European time and
何よジョイフル。
British time. And this pushing in the pits there, so that is one of the Bochum bikes, that's the 777, so that was the leader of the Superstock class, and now dropping down the order, Isaac giving up the ghost at the end of the Mistral again. You can see that the shadows are starting to get longer here, so we're not a million miles away from night time, of course, and we'll keep on rolling through, the lights starting to show quite prominently now, the long shadows, it will get dark. Couple of hours time.
めんどくせえ。
But yeah, number 777 there. So the Boychuk racing stop bike who were leading there. Standing with the British rider out for them now. But yeah, they are dropped down the order somewhat. Yeah, so they have got now the leading stop team. They've had a real shuffle around. A couple of riders in the pits, and in fact now the brief leaders there, the OG Motorsport by Sarazin Yamaha, have just come and changed their rider. They were leading the stock class briefly there. Kevin Kalia is coming out now on the number 33 Team Louis Apple motorbike ahead of Baptiste Pite, who has taken over for the Sapper Pompier squad. So still those two squads are in contention, but the Boychuk boys have given them a real leg up there by, it looks like, Was it if you maybe running slightly out of fuel towards the end, pushing it in, that could well have been just running it just that too much close, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes, you know, the fuel light could come on coming into, let's say, the last corner, which would be the pit lane entry. If the team is running it that fine, they could potentially not get the whole lap. So it's
わからん
for sure. You know, if the fuel light comes on in that area, if it was me, I kind of roll off a little bit on that last lap, because the last thing you want to do is run out of fuel coming into the pits, and then have to push it after muscling the thing around for 50 minutes. You don't want to have to run down pit lane with it. But we've had a couple of questions coming in. See if we can answer some half decently. One of the questions, Chris, was what's the difference between the endurance bike to the super bikes? The difference-wise would be fuel tank, obviously a lot bigger. These guys have got 24 litres, I think, to my knowledge. And to be honest, not much more really. The engines won't be quite as highly tuned because they've got to do 24 hours. Everything on a superbike is mileage. You know, for example, with British superbikes, we will do a certain amount of kilometres per engine. The last thing you want to do is start a race on a fairly worn-out engine and blow up mid-race. So for these guys, they've not got that luxury. They can't think, right, we'll do half a race, change an engine, half a race. Because then you could run, you know, you could run higher RPM. I think this World Endurance bike would probably rev to about 16,000, 15 and a half if they're perhaps playing it a bit safer. But yeah, there's not a huge amount of difference really.
One of the big differences I heard from Joe saying there, as we see a real strap on. This is the battle for the lead here between the super stock leaders Louis Applemotor Kawasaki and the number 18 red Yamaha and Sapper Pompier. Sapper Pompier are away and clear in the championship for the super stock class. Applemotor currently they've got some ground to make up. We're talking about 36 points between themselves and the Sapper Pompier, so they need a bit more of a distance than this. So the Sapper Pompier squad is still in a good, strong position now. As you see a ride-through penalty come up for the number 119 machine. That is a super stock bike. That is the Slider Endurance Yamaha squad. So they have had a technical infringement. We'll see if that's come up with any further messages for ourselves here. But yeah, there's scrapping going on. I was just finishing off the question there about the difference between superbikes and super stock. Something that Joe pointed out to me at Spa was that all the EWC guys can run quick release. So they can quick
ジョイフル OK マックやマックマックは別にポイントとかもなんかなかったと思うな
Exactly, yeah. Going back to where we were saying about changing the front wheel on a super stock bike, they've got on the calipers. It is a lot longer job. Whereas on the super bikes, they'll just literally be able to pull the spindle out. If you watch the front stands, the way they work, basically when they pull the spindle out, there's two quick releases. In the both of the
ログインしました
will ping out to the side. When you then put the wheel back in, it's got a mechanism that's get me tongue twisted there. That actually, when you put the wheel back in, it pulls the bottom of the fork legs back in. Then the discs slide straight into the centre of the pads in the caliper, and then literally put the spindle through. They'll rattle gun it with the rattle gun, the rattle gun would be set automatically to let's say 100 Newton meters. So it's not like they're just over tightening it. It will be all specifically sort of done. You're talking all of that in a, what does it take to do it? 5 seconds maybe. There's not much, to be honest, between doing the front and the rear. And obviously then with the fuel, they've got the quick, the double,
スタバはどうなんの
you know, filling sort of parts on the tank that you can just dump a certain amount of litres in per second, like you can't imagine. They can fill 24 litres up like going to quick fit for a service.
ああ、あるわ
These two are scrapping it out there up the inside with the number 18, Baptiste Grite.
あ、すごい。出店してくれるわ。ココイチ。
Which is number the team 202 machine. That's still 3 laps down on these two. As Haslam finishes his stint and taken over there, number 4 for the number 4 Tati team, Belgium racing team. Was that yellow armbands of, yes, that's it, Mr. White. Greg LeBlanc is up there now, one of the most experienced.
あ、すごい。もうココイチ OK。ココイチ、ケンタッキー。ケンタも多分あるんちゃうかな。もうちょっとレースのこと言えよって話やな。ちょっと待ってね、ほんとマジで。ほんと大変だよね。ケンタッキー。ケンタッキーってどうやった？ケンタッキー。Number 11, we might guess I'll see Kawasaki in second, and the ERC Racing Ducati is up there in a great third place right now. KFC カード。これ何でログインしてるの？
Is that obviously Team Pirelli managers or the digital team didn't quite get the graphic across. No. To the EWC boys to get that logo in amongst everyone else, so they just had to write Pirelli on it. Exactly, yeah, that's improvised.
So at the beginning you told me the wind was a bit strong, but now it starts to be better.
Yeah, the first bit we didn't make the greatest of starts, and
あ、はいはいはい。
lap one was 1 second slower than all the weekend. We found some issue with the tire pressure, was a little bit too low. But again, then was okay, but still not the pace that I had in the practice. So it was okay, consistent with the 44.
ああ、これはわかんねえわ。
Charge, definitely pushing.
And we know this is your first 24 hours, so how you manage it? You know, you push or you try to control it to manage your physical?
Yeah, physically I find the bike
Ah,
easy,
ta-
but for sure, in 3 in the morning, maybe I say different. But yeah, we are pushing, we try to take care of the slower rider. And yeah,
泣きそうなぐらい入れなあかんやんか、これ。これ何で生成したんだよ、これ。
He's worked hard there, to be fair. It's interesting, like you said, they have to look after the slower rider, hence probably push harder than what he would like. You know, the idea of endurance is ideally you've got 3.
ないんだよ。これなんでこれあれなってんの？
Almost where Yamaha are strong. You know, all 3 riders, there's not really lap time wise really much in them. Always when you've got, let's say, 2 fast riders and 1 less, you know, rider should we say, the result is dependent on the 2 fast riders to make up the difference. In that's where it's harder. It's almost kind of what probably Leon was politically correct about getting at, but they're doing a good job in for them, really. They've just got to keep their nose clean, keep chipping away. Like we keep saying, it's a long race. They put themselves now in a really good, strong position that if anything happens up ahead, they're there straight away knocking on the door for a podium. And that's definitely no means feat for 24 hours of endurance racing.
Yeah, certainly, Superstar battle still raging on there between Kevin Carlier and Baptiste Guite. So, yeah, those two are still duking out there. But, yeah, I think, just Bastian Mackles, I think, is the rider that Leon's referring to. Obviously, LeBlanc has got all the experience of the day. And this is another big team.
Mossberg.
Oh, the yarn is now getting pushed into the pit box. So, what is happening here? The curse of Boldor and the Paul Ricard circuit in particular is taking its toll on the leading teams.
Mossberg.
Now, the Yamaha looking like they're in a prime position to steal this championship at the depth. Suddenly wheeling the Yamaha into the pits. They had 40 seconds, 40.8
もうモスもさ、入ってねえじゃん。
Etienne Masson. And yeah, that's the number 7 there with it was Fritz.
そもそもないのか。
Yeah, very, very strange. There doesn't seem to be such an immediate rush to get something fixed. It's almost like they're trying, struggling to work out exactly what the problem is. The
Most
just
don't
come
know.
in and obviously said to him, we've got a problem there, and then chucked his gloves about. So it's, I do get the frustration of runners, like we said earlier, that the passion in everything involved in endurance racing is so intense that it's emotionally tough for sure. So hopefully, whatever the problem is, they can get it fixed and get it back out there pretty quick, because every second they're sat in the pits is a second they're going backwards. So it's not good for them really. Now we're looking at the number 11 Kawasaki to the lead of the race with the number 6 ERC Ducati going into second, and like we just said about Leon Aslam on the number 4 Kawasaki.
Wow, that's not supposed to do that. Let's face it that way. Lots of shouting going on.
Yeah. Now, in layman's terms, that is what you call mechanical failure. So
わかんねえモスバーガー。
not good at all.
I'm glad you're going to tell us these things.
Yeah, that to me looks like he's done a piston, an oil
My
ring.
pig.
Whenever a motorbike smokes like that out of the exhaust, it's normally leaked. Let the oil come up by the side of the piston, and it blows it straight out the exhaust. So that'd be
やっぱこれだよな。
That's a major job. That's another. Here he's down the main straight. Let's see. That is bad news for the yacht team.
I wonder if that's on the back shift, because that's right at the end of the straight. And what a lot of riders, myself as well, so I'm not putting fingers, yeah, they look devastated. You would be, it's terrible. But a lot of riders are very guilty for shifting too much. So you're
P P はダメだろうな。
and then you're coming straight back to let's say third gear.
P P はどうだっ
And it
け？
just overrides the engine, and a lot of the time you will blow an engine up on the back shift because technically you cannot overrev an engine flat out, but you could blow it up a lot easier on the back shift.
Right at the end of the straight. Yes. How many times you see that? Wow.
P P はまたヤフーだよ。
Number 11 Kawasaki.
Yes, indeed. Reebok SRC Kawasaki then have taken the lead with they're dropping like flies at the front end. I mean, we've had obviously the Yoshimura Suzuki now. I've been in the pits for a good couple of hours trying to rebuild that machine. Their main opposition in the championship, FCC Honda TSR, have also had their issues. But TSR Honda have recovered, so they are on track now. Still out there, 13th on circuit. In fact, they're just changing riders right now, so that's a shift over there. And they might be looking at that and rubbing their hands a little bit, because if you take the Yacht machine,
どこにインコード？あ、もう入れへんや、もう明日や。ペペ使わないよね。マジか。マジか。
but it's still not going anywhere right now. 5 minutes in the pits. It's going to be in there for a lot longer than that, we think, Tommy. But yeah, just to finish the train of thought there, the Hondas are now 13th on track with Josh Hook just taking over the controls. And they are currently, they're currently 9th in the standings. If you take yards out of the way, that means they're 8th. And that really is starting to get towards the point now where they will wrestle this championship away from Suzuki. And wow, what a shifting fortunes. Endurance racing really delivering the drama here at Boldore.
Exactly, and going back to like we were saying with Leon, now as we see that the number 4 Kawasaki that Leon Hausum's with, he's just jumped up into third place, which is obviously now a good shot for the podium.
文句ないんですか皆さん。
But when we saw the TSR Honda smoking, you could just see that the smoke
これマジかのさ、どうしたらいいの？
When you see something like the Yamaha and all it's
My
on back
page.
shift and it's straight out the exhaust, that's engine 100%. So we were just watching them on the screen that they were trying to turn the engine over. They've got it in gear and they've been trying to turn the engine over to see what cylinder. They've got the front bodies off, they've got the rock box cover off already of the engine, and they've been trying to see what cylinder has gone down. In all honesty, it makes no odds, because if one's gone down, you ain't going to be able to carry on. And know, we're about to see the number 11 Kawasaki come into the pit stop. Will we see the Ducati retake the lead with this pit stop? I think we will. 3.5 hours in. So,
Well, yeah, that's a clear illustration there of that, of what we were talking about before was going in there, just shoving it into
뭐 아니잖아.
going in a record time, great loop there, so
not just good luck, see.
takes over, say again.
I said not just good luck.
That's, I never say people, not even a pretty face.
That's it, exactly that.
Absolutely stunning, so there we go,
Oh,
into
dear.
the finishes his stint. And yeah, viewers will rejoin us very soon from Eurosport 2, so we'll do a quick rundown of the order of what's happened in this break. So there we go, we have got on screen now, we by SRC Kawasaki leading this race. We did think maybe the Ducati might just take over. There it is, the Ducati's just going down the main straight. So here's the difference between full gas and the speed limiter. The ERC Ducati's taken the lead after 3.5 hours of this race. And that is amazing to see. So we have got the Ducati out in front, the WeBike SRC Kawasaki second right now, and the Tati Team Derringer Kawasaki in third. That is because we have had misfortunes for number 1 Yoshimura Suzuki. There you can see on the screen, they are 43rd and last because they've been in the pits more than they've been on the track this race, so they have had a major rebuild on their hands, and that is the drama in EWC. So Yoshimura Suzuki in the Honda squad, they're back out now and inside the top 10 in EWC. And now we've just seen the number 7 Yamaha that was sitting pretty out in front has dropped into the pits now with a big fuel smoke out the back of the exhaust. So that is all contributing to this amazing scenario. Now we have the Ducati, Chaz Davis leading again on the Ducati, but now it's in endurance racing. Meanwhile, while that's been going on for EWC, this scrap, Hammer and Toms, has been going on for most of our stint here in the commentary box. An amazing scrap going on here between the Team Louis Apple Moto Kawasaki leading Superstock fight against the championship leading Cyber Pompier number 18 Yamaha.
Yeah,
Tanto minai.
there's just nothing to separate them either, is there? You know, there's just not even one area of the track you kind of watch and one looks a lot stronger. They're just absolutely hammer and top for 3.5
あれイオンのあれ
which is mad to even think, but it's great for us to be watching it, and great for the viewers at home for sure. This is what we love about motorbike racing, whether it's short circuit, whether it's endurance or what it is. You know, we all watch bike racing to see a load of grown men and women try and knock
spikes out of each other,
knock lumps out of each other. But
the Wojcik bike, sorry, that would have come in and would have been right amongst this group. The Wojcik bike was ahead of these two at the start of our stint here about an hour and a half ago. That was right up there as well. Danny Webb currently in control of that bike, and that is mainly just lost there because they ran their fuel just a little bit too tight at the end of the previous session, which meant they had to push it down the pit lane, and that's cost them time. But with these two scrapping together, then Tommy, you've got to think that 15 seconds the gap has now come down to, so the Wojcik bike could be right amongst this mix as well very soon.
definitely, exactly that. You know, it's clear track.
スマートの OK だよね。
These guys are sort of passing each other a lot more, and it does slow the lap time down. So exactly like you just said, it wouldn't be too long about before he sort of comes back into the scrap for sure. So just trying to work out on the superbike side. Obviously, as we see the Ducati's taking the lead. They both done 4 pit stops each. I reckon the Ducati or the Kawasaki is probably able to go about 3 laps longer on a stint than the Ducati, I reckon. 3-4 laps longer. I would have said Chaz has been out there 3 or 4 laps before they obviously switched to Florian Marino on the Kawasaki. So be interested to see now really where they settle in. Just see the number 11 Kawasaki's showing 16.1 seconds down. Chaz is currently lapping on a 54.2. Number 4, as we said, the number 4 Kawasaki is 55.6. So it's all starting to sort of unravel really now, with obviously the 77 sharing the Mariah's.
Just go down to 24 now, there's a little bit of information for us in the pits.
We are in front of the number 7 garage and still have another problem. So only 3 hours
あ、いけてるやん。
So high, and we can explain because the wind, you know, and the engine has problem. Because for the Suzuki, it's the engine problem. For BMW, it's overweight, but also engine. Yacht, also engine. And the Honda, it was all what that.
あ、両方いけんねや。
Only the Honda and the Ducati and Kawasaki has no engine problem. But I think since 3 days, everybody knows the Mistral is the back for all the Saturday.
あ、そうか、新しい方に行ったんだ。どうでもいいことやけどね。はい。じゃあ、もう終わっとくか。じゃあ、まあ最後にね、もう1時半やなので、さあ、ということでね、心くんのところがクラス4位。ね、クラス4位でございます。コネさんのところが30。静香選手。これグリーンはまた違ったんだっけ？クラスがナショナルなんとかだっけ？85分は、あ、そうか。はい、ということでね、すみません、後半ちょっと携帯の引き継ぎをしてましたので、はい、じゃあ、放送はね、一応ここで終了しておきます。まあちょっとまた後で放送するかもですけど、またその時はよろしくお願いします。お疲れ様でした。ピッ